Chapter 734. Inspector Su Rian. Ling Zixiao gently caressed Su Rian's skin as she spoke. Underneath Ling Zixiao's palm, Su Rian felt goosebumps erupt all over her body upon hearing those words. At that moment she realized that the rumors about Lu Changxing in the outside world were mistaken. The other party was definitely not any kind of gentleman. Otherwise, why would he become Dao companions with such a woman? To think she had just sought help from her, only to find this woman to be even worse than Lu Changxing, a veritable witch, a demoness. Miss Su, are you still unwilling to speak? Hearing Ling Zixiao's words, Lu Changxing's eyes narrowed slightly as he said in a cold voice. He too was pondering how to deal with Su Rian before him. As Ling Zixiao had said, since the other party knew about the Mount Sumeru Tree King, she definitely could not be allowed to leave alive. As for killing her? He remembered that the Su Rian before him possessed a 4th-grade spiritual root. A female cultivator with a 4th-grade spiritual root would indeed make for a fine breeding partner, a shame to kill. Moreover, following the plot of the inspector, infiltrating and failing, becoming a captive, and then being taken by oneself, that seemed reasonable, didn't it? However, his first priority was to clear up the soul within Su Rian. After all, compared to a soul capable of advancing Su Rian from chi refinement to core formation, her issue seemed trivial. Just kill me? Su Rian continued to speak through gritted teeth. Her face showed the resolute expression of someone resigned to death, exuding an air of nobility and dignity that could not be violated. He, does Miss Su really wish for death so earnestly? Lu Changxing laughed lightly, enjoying the presence of a strict and noble young lady like her. If she had submitted to him at first sight, he would have found it boring. While speaking, he lifted Su Rian's chin and appraised her. If you behave, perhaps Lu might grant you a way out? You wanted a demon beast, didn't you? If there's one thing Lu has in abundance, it's demon beast. Look, what's this? Having said this, Lu Changxing slapped the spiritual beast bag and the 6-winged golden silkworm appeared, emanating a brutal and bloodthirsty aura at his side. Don't you desire to seek justice for your father? Are you really content to die here like this? If you're willing to obey, maybe Lu would be willing to avenge you in the future, to help you obtain justice for your father. Lu Changxing's voice was deep and tempting. This? Su Rian opened her eyes wide, looking at the 6-winged golden silkworm. Her cultivation technique, beast technique, was sensitive to the aura of demon beasts, allowing her to sense their bloodline potential to some extent. Therefore, through her beast technique, she instantly knew this was a spiritual insect with heaven-rank bloodline potential. Looking at the 6-winged golden silkworm before her and listening to Lu Changxing's words, even though Su Rian knew he was deceiving her, her heart couldn't help waver slightly. After all, she was currently facing a desperate situation. And Lu Changxing's words had sparked some hope within her, a desire to survive. Because she truly didn't wish to die here. As a child, she was discovered to possess a 4th-grade spiritual root and showed an affinity for pet beasts, exhibiting a remarkable talent for beast taming. She subsequently found an ancient beast taming charm and even received guidance from a senior. Her life was meant to be extraordinary, achieving core formation, even nascent soul, and standing at the peak of the cultivation world. How could she be willing to die here? Girl, adapt to the circumstances. At this time, a pleasant sigh resonated within Su Rian's mind. It was the voice of Hong Lian. She knew that facing such a situation, it would be difficult to escape opportunistically using the ancient charm. Moreover, Lu Changxing before her might have already sensed her presence, so she too had abandoned any attempt to hide. Furthermore, based on Su Rian's rough introduction about Lu Changxing, the presence of 2 young demon beasts with heavenly grade bloodlines and a young true spirit made her suspect something. Lu Changxing saw the struggle in Su Rian's eyes. He knew she wasn't truly prepared to embrace death. Or rather, Su Rian had never imagined she would fail or become a captive on this mission. Since she didn't truly possess the desire to die, everything became much easier to handle. Miss Su, are you here to steal my spiritual beasts? Lu Changxing wore a smile, inquiring in a gentle, refined manner, like that of a modest gentleman. This question was obvious. What he wanted was for Su Rian to speak up. Many things happen only once or countless times. Once Su Rian spoke for the first time, everything thereafter would become much simpler. Chapter 735. Your grandpa is so beautiful, now he's mine. _1 Su Rian gazed at Lu Changxing's peerlessly handsome features, listening to his voice, gentle as the winter's sun, feeling as though she were basked in the warmth of a spring breeze. Her agitated heart involuntarily calmed down. She felt that Lu Changxing harbored no blame towards her at all. It was purely a matter of her having done something wrong, and an affectionate elder was patiently instructing her. She knew it was an illusion that Lu Changxing was employing some technique on her, but she still responded in a soft voice, yes. Seeing this, a hint of a smile appeared in both Lu Changxing and Ling Zixio's eyes. Knowing that Su Rian had relented, the matter would be easier to handle. Was it because of the matter with the spiritual beast that Miss Su observed Lu so intently back at Wugong Ridge Zheng family? Lu Changxing continued to speak, his voice smooth as jade, persuasive and gentle. Yes. With Miss Zu's family background, surely you aren't lacking in spiritual beasts, right? Didn't Patriarch Su prepare for you the Earth-grade bloodline spirit beast fire python tiger and heavenly fire mink before? Lu Changxing's face showed a warm smile as he smoothed Su Rian's somewhat disordered fiery red hair, tucking it behind her ear. Her hair felt glossy and soft to the touch, very pleasant to the fingers. Su Rian bit her lips until they turned somewhat pale, a struggle evident in her eyes as she said, because I need a heavenly ranked demon beast. Though heavenly ranked demon beasts are indeed rare, the mysterious turtle spirit beast in Lu's home is merely at the initial stage of first grade. Even if Miss Su took it, cultivating it to maturity would take decades, maybe even a century, and during this time it probably wouldn't be of any help to Miss Su, right? So why would Miss Su go to such lengths to do this? Lu Changxing continued to inquire. This was the point he found most perplexing. Heavenly rank bloodline demon beasts were indeed rare and precious. But cultivating them was also extremely difficult. Especially the cold blue dark turtle from his family, known to be a turtle-type demon beast, notoriously slow-growing. Su Rian, by stealing it, aiming to nurture it to second rank potent enough to be an ally, would need at least decades. And yet, here she was at the pinnacle of chi refinement, not breaking through to foundation establishment at home, but instead attempting to steal at his place, making him suspect other reasons. Hearing this, Su Rian's spirit trembled, she bit her lips tightly and then slowly closed her eyes. The heavenly ranked demon beast was linked to her cultivation technique beast technique, her true secret, one she was unwilling to reveal. Miss Su, are you unwilling to speak? Lu Changxing chuckled, his palm caressing Su Rian's smooth cheek and sliding down to her slender neck, saying, it seems this heavenly ranked spirit beast must be tied to some other important secret. Could it be related to the mighty soul within Miss Su? Lu Changxing said this. Under Lu Changxing's gentle touch, Su Rian felt a soft numbness throughout her body, biting her lips to death. But at his words, her pupils shrank sharply, and a look of terror appeared in her beautiful eyes. She had not expected Lu Changxing to know of the existence of Elder Hong Lian. Compared to the beast technique, Elder Hong Lian was her greatest secret. Aside from herself, not a second person knew of this secret. But now it had been spoken by Lu Changxing. A soul within the body? Ling Zixiao, who was nearby, heard this, looked at Su Rian's expression, and also showed surprise, contemplating deeply. She had been pondering, how could an energy-refining cultivator's magic aura suddenly rise to rival core formation? Even with some rare artifact, it wouldn't be so exaggerated. Now hearing Lu Changxing's words, realization dawned on her. To temporarily elevate an energy-refining cultivator's cultivation level to core formation, at least it must be that of a nascent soul true lord, right? Ling Zixiao felt a chill of fear and suspicion. If it weren't for the Mount Sumru Tree King residing at home, facing such an entity, the consequences would have been unimaginable. It seems, Lu has guessed correctly, hasn't he? Clad in a light blue brocade robe, Lu Changxing's attractive face wore an inviting smile, as comforting as a spring day, captivating to anyone who looked upon him. No, it's for myself. The cultivation technique I am practicing requires a contract with a heavenly ranked demon beast. Su Rian opened her eyes, breathing slightly, and said. Now that Elder Hong Lian's matter had been sensed by Lu Changxing, she knew there was no need to hide any more. She could only hope, after revealing her situation, that Lu Changxing would, as previously said, spare her. Oh? The cultivation technique requires a contract with a heavenly ranked demon beast? Lu Changxing heard this and frowned slightly. He had not expected there to be such a cultivation technique. Nevertheless, he did not doubt her words. After all, he possessed several peripheral sect-level and orthodox-level cultivation techniques. Knowing that the types of cultivation techniques were diverse and strange, Su Rian's must be some sort of beast-taming cultivation technique, related to spiritual beasts. Does it mean a contract must be made with a heavenly ranked demon beast to break through the realm? So, that's rather harsh. Could it be, the higher the latent potential of the contracted spirit beast's bloodline, the better the Tao foundation that is condensed, the more solid the basis? Lu Changxing pondered to himself. He roughly guessed why Su Rian hadn't broken through to foundation establishment and was in such a hurry to steal a spirit beast from his place. It was likely related to her advancement from Qi refinement to foundation establishment. For a cultivator, the Tao foundation formed during the break from energy refinement to foundation establishment is of utmost importance. Once the Tao foundation is established, unless one breaks the foundation and starts over, it cannot be reformed or improved. If your Tao foundation is inferior, so are your combat abilities and potential. Even if you later obtain top-tier cultivation techniques, the foundation will still be affected by the quality of the Tao foundation. For average cultivators, this is not a big deal. For them, being able to break through to foundation establishment is already a blessing. But Su Rian, who is exceptionally gifted and harbors a mighty soul within her, would certainly take this step very seriously, striving to do her best. Chapter 736. Your grandpa is really beautiful, now he's mine. So that's how it is. Lu Changxing nodded and said with a smile, "Let me guess, it must be the bloodline rank of the spiritual beast that concerns Miss Zu's breakthrough at the foundation establishment stage, the quality of her Tao foundation and her future potential. After all, with Miss Zu's talent and fortuitous encounters, the future holds at least core formation if not nascent soul. How could she be content with using an Earth-grade bloodline spiritual beast to condense her Tao foundation? Therefore, when Miss Su sensed that I possess a heavenly rank bloodline spiritual beast, she thought to obtain a heavenly rank spirit beast through me for her breakthrough, which is why she resorted to such thievery." Lu Changxing spoke unhurriedly, his face wearing a light smile. Upon hearing this, Su Rian was taken aback. She had not expected that by merely mentioning her cultivation technique required a contract with a heavenly rank demon beast, Lu Changxing would guess the general situation of her beast technique. Her lips pursed, she responded coldly, "That's right, so what if it is?" "No, so what, I think it is quite reasonable and normal," Lu Changxing said with a light chuckle. "In the cultivation world, when faced with an opportunity, one must not miss it. One must fight and scramble for it by oneself, only by doing so can one travel far on the path of cultivation. Miss Zu's actions are not at all improper, it is just that you encountered me, hence your current predicament." Su Rian was momentarily stunned by Lu Changxing's words. She had not expected him to actually approve of her actions. A mix of indescribable emotions surged within her heart. "If it were me, faced with such an opportunity, I would certainly think of a way to snatch it. There's no need for Miss Su to feel embarrassed," Lu Changxing said with a chuckle, pinching Su Rian's delicately beautiful cheek. "Is that so?" At these words, Su Rian's beautiful eyes revealed a trace of bewilderment. Indeed, the cultivation world is such, where the strong prey on the weak without reasoning. But deep down she still knew that this kind of behavior was inappropriate. However, hearing Lu Changxing's words like this, she felt somewhat less guilty. She even thought that Lu Changxing might not be that bad, quite understanding and wouldn't be too harsh on her. Perhaps if she cooperated and behaved, he might really let her go. However, the principle remains, but Miss Su, before committing such an act, you must have been prepared for the consequences, right? Lu Changxing's palm slid from her soft and tender cheek down to her slender neck, delicate collarbone, and then to the full pride beneath the golden phoenix lingerie. He then grasped a difficult-to-hold snowy part, letting the rich creamy white jade overflow at his fingertips. Boom! As Lu Changxing's warm hand assaulted her sensitive spot, Su Rian's mind went blank, her gaze somewhat scattered. Although she was mature in mind, she had never experienced such matters between men and women before. Ling Zixio's palm had roamed her body, but as a woman she could barely endure it. But now, the hand of a strange man tightly grasped her full pride, leaving her mind blank and somewhat at a loss. Her body, though restrained and hard to move, seemed electrified at this moment, her long beautiful legs straight as jade, the toes of her feet tensed. You said if I behaved you would let me go," Su Rian said with a tremble, lowering her beautiful eyes and enduring the shame. Just a moment ago, her heart had grown somewhat fond and accepting of Lu Changxing. But his current actions completely disrupted her thoughts, and she could no longer converse calmly with Lu Changxing. "That's right, I did say that as long as you behave I will let you go, and I might even give you a heavenly ranked demon beast to seek justice for your father. But this will depend on whether Miss Su is obedient enough," Lu Changxing said softly in Su Rian's ear as he played with the fullness in his hand and leaned in close. Ling Zixiao watched Lu Changxing's behavior, scolding him with her eyes. She knew Lu Changxing was lustful but would not descend into extreme indecency. Nevertheless, seeing his frivolous actions, they appeared to her as smooth and natural, not at all contrived. Lu Changxing just kill me? Su Rian, her body tingling, a strong sense of shame erupting from her heart, shouted loudly. She felt she must have been delirious to have believed that Lu Changxing before her was considerate and trustworthy. Alas, why must you be like this, Miss Su? Lu Changxing sighed slightly and said, however, since you wish to die, I will grant your wish. Puchi. The next moment, Su Rian saw Lu Changxing before her suddenly turn expressionless, and with a swift motion, a flying sword was conjured, beheading her. Blood splattered, and her head rolled to the ground. Her own eyes reflected an unbelievable shock, staring in death. Her consciousness began to blur, and darkness surrounded her. Rian. Littleine. From within the darkness, she seemed to hear calls. One scene after another appeared before her. Grandpa, father, mother. Su Tiandu. Su Rian watched as the scenes unfolded before her eyes. She recalled when she was young and discovered to have a fourth-grade spiritual root and an affinity with pet beasts, swearing to become the pride of her family. She recalled when she was young, seeing her father crippled in the family competition, and vowed to seek justice for him. She remembered after starting cultivation, finding an ancient beast-taming charm and receiving guidance from a nascent soul predecessor, aspiring to nascent soul, vowing to become Jiang country's #1 cultivator. But now, all of these turned into nothing more than fleeting dreams. At this moment, Su Rian felt an intense desire for survival. She wanted to break free from the abyss of death, to live well and be the pride of her parents, her grandfather, and her family. To seek justice for her father, to become a nascent soul true lord, and to fulfill the promise made with Hong Lian. However, just then, the ancient beast-taming charm in her mind flashed with a hint of colorful light, and a cooling sensation surged into her brain. Crush. The surrounding scenes burst like bubbles, shattering into nothingness. Chapter 737. Your grandpa is really beautiful, now he's mine. So that's how it is. Lu Changxing nodded and said with a smile, let me guess, it must be the bloodline rank of the spiritual beast that concerns Miss Zu's breakthrough at the foundation establishment stage, the quality of her Dao foundation and her future potential. After all, with Miss Zu's talent and fortuitous encounters, the future holds at least core formation if not nascent soul. How could she be content with using an Earth-grade bloodline spiritual beast to condense her Dao foundation? Therefore, when Miss Su sensed that I possess a heavenly rank bloodline spiritual beast, she thought to obtain a heavenly rank spirit beast through me for her breakthrough, which is why she resorted to such thievery. Lu Changxing spoke unhurriedly, his face wearing a light smile. Upon hearing this, Su Rian was taken aback. She had not expected that by merely mentioning her cultivation technique required a contract with a heavenly ranked demon beast, Lu Changxing would guess the general situation of her beast technique. Her lips pursed, she responded coldly, that's right, so what if it is? No, so what, I think it is quite reasonable and normal, Lu Changxing said with a light chuckle. In the cultivation world, when faced with an opportunity, one must not miss it. One must fight and scramble for it by oneself. Only by doing so can one travel far on the path of cultivation. Miss Zu's actions are not at all improper, it is just that you encountered me, hence your current predicament. Su Rian was momentarily stunned by Lu Changxing's words. She had not expected him to actually approve of her actions. A mix of indescribable emotions surged within her heart. If it were me, faced with such an opportunity, I would certainly think of a way to snatch it. There's no need for Miss Su to feel embarrassed, Lu Changxing said with a chuckle, pinching Su Rian's delicately beautiful cheek. Is that so? At these words, Su Rian's beautiful eyes revealed a trace of bewilderment. Indeed, the cultivation world is such, where the strong prey on the weak without reasoning. But deep down she still knew that this kind of behavior was inappropriate. However, hearing Lu Changxing's words like this, she felt somewhat less guilty. She even thought that Lu Changxing might not be that bad, quite understanding and wouldn't be too harsh on her. Perhaps if she cooperated and behaved, he might really let her go. However, the principle remains, but Miss Su, before committing such an act, you must have been prepared for the consequences, right? Lu Changxing's palm slid from her soft and tender cheek down to her slender neck, delicate collarbone, and then to the full pride beneath the golden phoenix lingerie. He then grasped a difficult-to-hold snowy part, letting the rich creamy white jade overflow at his fingertips. Boom! As Lu Changxing's warm hand assaulted her sensitive spot, Su Rian's mind went blank, her gaze somewhat scattered. Although she was mature in mind, she had never experienced such matters between men and women before. Ling Zixio's palm had roamed her body, but as a woman she could barely endure it. But now, the hand of a strange man tightly grasped her full pride, leaving her mind blank and somewhat at a loss. Her body, though restrained and hard to move, seemed electrified at this moment, her long beautiful legs straight as jade, the toes of her feet tensed. You said if I behaved you would let me go, Su Rian said with a tremble, lowering her beautiful eyes and enduring the shame. Just a moment ago, her heart had grown somewhat fond and accepting of Lu Changxing. But his current actions completely disrupted her thoughts, and she could no longer converse calmly with Lu Changxing. That's right, I did say that as long as you behave I will let you go, and I might even give you a heavenly ranked demon beast to seek justice for your father. But this will depend on whether Miss Su is obedient enough, Lu Changxing said softly in Su Rian's ear as he played with the fullness in his hand and leaned in close. Ling Zixiao watched Lu Changxing's behavior, scolding him with her eyes. She knew Lu Changxing was lustful but would not descend into extreme indecency. Nevertheless, seeing his frivolous actions, they appeared to her as smooth and natural, not at all contrived. Lu Changxing just kill me? Su Rian, her body tingling, a strong sense of shame erupting from her heart, shouted loudly. She felt she must have been delirious to have believed that Lu Changxing before her was considerate and trustworthy. Alas, why must you be like this, Miss Su? Lu Changxing sighed slightly and said, however, since you wish to die, I will grant your wish. Puchi. The next moment, Su Rian saw Lu Changxing before her suddenly turn expressionless, and with a swift motion, a flying sword was conjured, beheading her. Blood splattered, and her head rolled to the ground. Her own eyes reflected an unbelievable shock, staring in death. Her consciousness began to blur, and darkness surrounded her. Rian. Little Ian. From within the darkness she seemed to hear calls. One scene after another appeared before her. Grandpa, father, mother. Su Tiandu. Su Rian watched as the scenes unfolded before her eyes. She recalled when she was young and discovered to have a fourth-grade spiritual root and an affinity with pet beasts, swearing to become the pride of her family. She recalled when she was young, seeing her father crippled in the family competition, and vowed to seek justice for him. She remembered after starting cultivation, finding an ancient beast-taming charm and receiving guidance from a nascent soul predecessor, aspiring to nascent soul, vowing to become Jiang country's #1 cultivator. But now, all of these turned into nothing more than fleeting dreams. At this moment, Su Rian felt an intense desire for survival. She wanted to break free from the abyss of death, to live well and be the pride of her parents, her grandfather, and her family. To seek justice for her father, to become a nascent soul true lord, and to fulfill the promise made with Hong Lian. However, just then, the ancient beast-taming charm in her mind flashed with a hint of colorful light, and a cooling sensation surged into her brain. Crush. The surrounding scenes burst like bubbles, shattering into nothingness. Chapter 738. Your grandpa is truly beautiful, now he's mine. Su Rian suddenly opened her eyes and saw Lu Changxing, who appeared noble and gentle before her. A chill spread through her heart, and she instantly knew that the scene she had just witnessed was an illusion. You woke up so soon? Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow as he looked at Su Rian before him. He had just used a third-rank illusion heart talisman on Su Rian. He had thought that she would be lost in the illusion, experiencing the pain of life and death, various scenes. Waiting for her soul vulnerabilities and flaws to be exposed and shattered in the illusion, her spirit weak, he planned to slowly train her at that point. But he had not expected Su Rian to struggle free from the illusion heart talisman so quickly. He realized that it must be the mighty soul within her causing trouble. Otherwise, with Su Rian's peak chi refinement cultivation level and her spirit lost, it would have been absolutely impossible for her to break free from a third-rank illusion heart talisman. Miss Su, have the senior within you come out, Lu Changxing said, retracting his smile and speaking earnestly. Knowing the presence of a mighty soul within her, he understood that his little tricks would be of no use against Su Rian. It would be better to have this mighty soul show themselves directly. I don't know what you're talking about, Su Rian said, biting her lip. Seeing that the senior Hong Lian had remained silent, she realized that even Hong Lian had no solution for this situation. Thus, she did not want to expose the senior Hong Lian prematurely. Does the senior really intend to just watch in silence, hiding and not showing themselves? That really doesn't suit the demeanor of a respected elder, Lu Changxing said indifferently, looking at Su Rian. Young lady. A faint sigh resonated in Su Rian's mind. She knew that at this moment she had to meet with Lu Changxing. Senior Hong Lian. Su Rian bit her lip tightly. Then she said to Lu Changxing in a feeble voice, I am completely restrained and Senior Hong Lian cannot show themselves. I see, Lu Changxing said, not expecting the restraint seal of Mount Sumeru to prevent the grandfather inside her from appearing. He immediately had Mount Sumeru slightly release Su Rian. Afterward, an ancient talisman the size of 2 fingers, resembling neither jade nor stone and engraved with the pattern of a mystical beast, flew out from Su Rian's forehead. Flashes of colorful light surged from the talisman, and countless tiny red points of light appeared. In the empty space, they formed a faint silhouette of a woman in a luxurious red palace gown with golden edges, wearing a bejeweled crown, her face delicate and features perfect. Even though her figure and face were ethereal, making her seem almost unreal, her mere presence commanded a sacred and noble bearing, making her every gesture seem divine. The senior is actually in this form? Lu Changxing looked at Hong Lian in front of him, his eyes revealing surprise and admiration, though his expression remained calm. He had thought that there was an old grandfather within Su Rian. He had not expected it to actually be a fairy goddess. He couldn't help but click his tongue inwardly. Was he fortunate enough to have stumbled upon a streak of romantic luck? After capturing the younger, now he had been presented with the elder. Your grandfather is truly beautiful but soon will belong to me. This mighty soul senior is actually a woman. Ling Zixio's beautiful eyes also showed a hint of surprise and disbelief. She had not expected the mighty soul within Su Rian to be that of a woman. Despite her ethereal form, she hid none of her peerless elegance. Her eyes as picturesque as a painting, skin whiter than snow, figure slender, with an air of grace and vitality. Her pupils were red and her lips very red, red like flames. It gave her an aura of sacred nobility and majesty, making others feel inferior and dare not defile. Ling Zixiao knew that this was the result of a long-cultivated prestige and poise of someone of high status. The senior in front of them was not only powerful, but also held no ordinary position. However, perhaps due to spending too much time with Lu Changxing, she felt no sense of awe in her heart upon seeing this senior. In fact, she even remembered their return trip from Jiuxiao Immortal City to Qingzhou Mountain with Lu Changxing when they ran into Nangong Meili and Meng Xiaochan. Back then it was also a case of an elder and a younger person, but after encountering her lord husband. What would you like to discuss, young Master Lu? Hong Lian asked softly, her voice cool and enchanting, like the most melodious of sounds. She knew there was no use continuing to hide. Lu Changxing had clearly confirmed her existence and was not bluffing. If she continued to remain hidden, Lu Changxing might employ other methods to force her to appear, so it was better to show herself straightforwardly. There is nothing in particular, I was merely curious to meet the senior living within Miss Su, Lu Changxing spoke calmly and composedly. If they were elsewhere he would keep his distance from a mighty soul like Hong Lian and prepare defensive measures. But inside Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven with Mount Sumeru there, he felt no fear. Furthermore, Mount Sumeru had indicated that this soul's power was presently restrained and could not unleash its full combat potential. In front of young Master Lu, I cannot lay claim to any notable seniority or wisdom, Hong Lian replied, unable to gauge Lu Changxing's intentions, keeping her tone soft and graceful. I wonder what it would take for young Master Lu to allow me and Miss Su to leave? She continued to inquire with a calmly composed expression. The senior must be aware, entering here it is impossible for me to let you go, Lu Changxing replied with a light chuckle. However, if the senior wishes to leave this place it's quite simple. As the saying goes, a good bird chooses the tree it perches in, a wise minister chooses the master he serves. For what reason does the senior choose to remain with Miss Su? Whatever Miss Su can offer you, I believe I can offer the same and even more. Therefore, as long as the senior is willing to follow me, leaving this place will naturally be a simple matter, said Lu Changxing, a sincere expression appearing on his face. Chapter 739, Your grandpa is truly beautiful, now he's mine. For he didn't know why the old grandpa was following Su Rian. But after thinking it over, it was either for the purpose of possession and resurrection, or there were some unfulfilled wishes. Since Su Rian could do it, he naturally could do it too. Why not use this method to make the being his own? After all, the woman in the red dress was at least a nascent soul true lord. With a nascent soul true lord grandpa, he feared he could take many shortcuts on his path of cultivation. Moreover, to become a nascent soul true lord, one's talent was undoubtedly extraordinary. If she became the mother of his children, the kids should turn out quite remarkable, right? Although the other party only had a soul, Lu Changxing thought of the soul fusion resurrection elixir in his system space. This elixir was a fourth-rank elixir medicine, capable of regenerating flesh from bones and reviving a soul as long as the cultivator's spirit had not dissipated. He might be able to subdue this woman by using this elixir as bait. Lu Changxing knew. When Su Rian heard Lu Changxing open his mouth to say a good bird chooses a tree to nest in, a wise minister chooses a lord to serve, she immediately showed an annoyed expression. Though the words were not insulting, it was clear they implied she was not up to par. And for him to undermine her in front of her face was truly distressing and infuriating. Hong Lian did not expect that as soon as Lu Changxing spoke, he would want to subdue her. While Su Rian was still not mature enough and had a long way to go, her character, Dao heart and perseverance were all quite commendable. Furthermore, since the ancient beast taming charm had chosen Su Rian, who had the grace of awakening her, she could not easily abandon her and leave. But if she disagreed, both she and Su Rian would be trapped here. If I agree, would Master Lu be willing to let Rian go? Hong Lian's voice was ethereal and soft, very pleasant to hear. Senior Hong Lian. When Su Rian heard this, her eyes immediately reddened and she cursed Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing, you are despicable and shameless actually. But before she could finish her sentence, Mount Sumeru restrained her speech, rendering her unable to speak. Miss Su, it is said that one should aim for higher places and water flows to lower ground. Senior Hong Lian is willing to follow me to spare you, why can't you offer her a better choice? Don't you think that if Senior Hong Lian follows me, she is obviously better off than with you? Think about it, if it weren't for you trying to steal my spiritual beast, how could you have fallen into such a plight, bringing Senior Hong Lian into this mess with you? Lu Changxing said calmly and indifferently to Su Rian. Su Rian's face turned ugly and her expression was furious as she listened to Lu Changxing's words. But she was unable to say anything now. And apart from cursing, she didn't know what else to say. Just as Lu Changxing had said, if Senior Hong Lian followed him, she would clearly be better off than with her. If not for her, Senior Hong Lian wouldn't have been in such a dangerous situation. At this moment, her heart was deeply wounded by Lu Changxing. Young lady, Hong Lian looked at Su Rian and softly comforted her. Then she sighed towards Lu Changxing. Master Lu needn't say more, I am also aware of the theft of the spiritual beast, and I didn't stop it. Now Hong Lian has no other desires, only hoping that Master Lu can spare Rian. Hong Lian's voice was cool and moving. Letting her go now is naturally impossible, but in consideration of Senior's face, as long as she obediently behaves, my previous promise will stand. Not only will she be spared in the future, but she will also be given a heavenly rank bloodline demon beast to assist her revenge. Lu Changxing said with a smile, his attitude sincere. Hong Lian in front of him was a mighty soul, who in life was at least a nascent soul true monarch. Such status and position were enough for him to show a certain amount of respect. Moreover, he had never intended to kill Rian Su. She possessed not only a fourth-grade spiritual root, but she was also considered someone of great fortune and destiny. If such a person could be groomed and subdued to become the mother of his child, it would be a great boost for the family. As for subduing someone, the cultivation world had no shortage of methods, including his Lockhart goo. However, he wasn't too keen on using the Lockhart goo on Rian Su. For one, the goo had already reached its limit with Meng Xiaochan and Nangong Meili. If he added one more person to the mix, it might lead to instability. Moreover, men often have a soft spot for women who deeply love them, even if that deep love is the result of certain methods. I, Lu Changxing, never coerce anyone, nor will I use Miss Zu's life to threaten a senior. So Senior can take your time to think it over, feel free to make any demands. As long as you are willing to sincerely follow me, I can not only help you resurrect and restore your physical body, but perhaps even help you return to your peak. Lu Changxing looked at Hong Lian, his voice calm and steady as he continued to speak. Hong Lian did not respond. To tell the truth, Lu Changxing's words seemed very sincere to her. Even in her view, following Lu Changxing was not a bad choice. One reason was Lu Changxing's various astonishing performances, and the presence of heavenly rank bloodline demon beasts and true spirit demon beasts at home, which truly made her tempted to think more about it. She believed that Lu Changxing was a reincarnation of a mighty being. Moreover, she had a favorable impression of Lu Changxing. It wasn't just because of his facial appearance. And also this issue was initially their own fault, hers and Rian Zu's. Yet Lu Changxing did not pressure them too harshly or do anything excessive. Senior need not rush to reply, you can take your time to consider. By the way, when I mentioned resurrecting Senior, it wasn't just talk. This elixir medicine, named Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir, is something you should recognize. Lu Changxing took out the Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir from the system space. This elixir medicine was the size of a dragon's eye, presenting in black and red colors. Its surface was lustrous and full, with white and black energy flowing around it, making it appear exceptionally mystical. Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir. Upon seeing the elixir medicine in Lu Changxing's hand, Hong Lian's soul trembled, and she couldn't help but exclaim in surprise. Amazement that could not be concealed shone in her beautiful eyes. As a nascent soul true lord, she naturally knew the renown of the Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir. This elixir, ranked 4th rank, even if the nascent soul was shattered and life was extinct, as long as the soul had not dispersed, after ingesting the elixir, one could regenerate flesh from bone and come back to life. Although her current condition was just a remnant soul with neither nascent soul nor a physical body, as long as she could find a suitable body, she could use this elixir to resurrect herself and quickly restore her cultivation level. Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir? Ling Zixiao and Rian Su, upon seeing the elixir medicine in Lu Changxing's hands, also showed surprise. Although they had not heard of the fame of this elixir, seeing Hong Lian's reaction, they could roughly guess the effects of the elixir and its help in Hong Lian's resurrection. Both were shocked, never imagining that Lu Changxing could produce such a rare elixir medicine. Especially Rian Su. Reconstructing a body for Hong Lian was part of the promise she had made with her, but such a task, in her opinion, was still extremely far off. At least she had to wait until she reached core formation before she could even start to consider it. But now, Lu Changxing casually produced an elixir that could aid in the resurrection of Senior Hong Lian. This deeply shook her. She felt that what Lu Changxing said made sense. People reach for higher ground and water flows to lower ground. If Senior Hong Lian chose to follow Lu Changxing, it would clearly be 100 times better than staying with her. Even if she decided to obediently comply and submit to Lu Changxing, perhaps that was not a bad choice either. At this moment, not only was Hong Lian faced with a choice, but Rian Zu's heart was also caught in a dilemma. Chapter 740, The Choice of Two Women. _1 Heaven-ranked Demon Beast, True Spirit Level Demon Beast, Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir, Spiritual Eye Spring. This is definitely not something a Foundation Establishment cultivator could obtain. Even a nascent soul cultivator would not have such an extraordinary opportunity. Moreover, according to what Little Sue said, this person's growth experience can be described as nothing short of legendary. Originally, he was just a son-in-law with a lower-grade spiritual root from a family. But in over 20 years, from a mere mortal, a family son-in-law, he broke through Foundation Establishment and established a familial dynasty. If it were just that, it might be explicable. After all, the cultivation world never lacks minor figures who rise up from opportunities. But the combination of this person's various deeds and such extraordinary opportunities completely cannot be explained as a minor figure rising through opportunity. Especially the way this person faced me without deference or arrogance, his words filled with confidence. Such a demeanor is certainly not that of an ordinary cultivator. Hong Lian looked at the handsome-faced, slender-framed Lu Changxing before her, looking like an orchid in bloom with elegant demeanor, and remained silent, pondering in her heart. Originally at the Wugong Ridge Zheng family through Su Rian, she briefly observed and understood Lu Changxing. She then concluded that Lu Changxing had great fortune and secrets. But upon seeing the Mount Sumeru Tree King, she deeply suspected that Lu Changxing was the reincarnation of a great power. Because the situation with Lu Changxing simply could not be clearly explained by chance encounters and fortunes. Now, seeing the 4th rank elixir medicine Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir, she was almost certain that Lu Changxing was a great power reincarnated for recultivation. Because other than this reason, she really couldn't think of any other explanations. This person is definitely a great power reincarnated for recultivation. Inside his body, I also sensed a terrifying presence. This presence might just be the backup left over from his previous life, the sealed mana of cultivation within his body that, once in danger, would be released. Hong Lian thought of the terrifying presence she sensed from Lu Changxing, which was faint but there. This presence she herself didn't know how to describe. She only felt it to be profoundly mysterious and exceedingly terrifying. However, this person's life experience in a bit over 20 years, fathering over 100 children and establishing a cultivation family, could it be that he really is the legendary Dragon Emperor body, aiming to follow the path of that Saint King of Zhongzhou from the past? It's rumored that the Saint King of Zhongzhou fathered countless progeny, imposing a monarch's hierarchy within the cultivation world, centralizing power within a single family to draw the world's destiny upon oneself and kin. But I have never heard of anyone who could reincarnate for recultivation and decide their own physique, especially such a legendary Taoist body. Could it be that he acquired a new soul to rebuild? But if that's the case, why did he waste so many years in his early life? Hong Lian murmured to herself, continuously pondering, trying to make sense of Lu Changsheng's situation. But the more she thought about it, the more mysterious and unfathomable Lu Changsheng before her seemed to be, enveloped in a shroud of mist. However, if he truly possesses the Dragon Emperor body, Hong Lian hesitated in her thoughts, considering the effects of the Dragon Emperor body. Knowing that if her suspicions were correct, and Lu Changsheng possessed the legendary Dragon Emperor body, then following him would mean becoming akin to his wife or concubine, bearing his children. After all, such a matter would be considered natural and fitting for his great Tao for the legendary Dragon Emperor body. Perhaps, it is precisely for this reason that he proposed to recruit me. Hong Lian paused again in her thoughts, believing that Lu Changsheng was indeed sincere in his actions as she had suspected. I wish to rebuild my body, return to the peak, solve the mysteries of the past and avenge my grievances. Relying on little Su, the hopes are slim. Moreover, both little Su and I have fallen into this man's hands, escaping is not an option. If I follow him, I may live another life, unravel the past. Even if I become his wife or concubine, what of it? As a nascent soul true lord, Hong Lian wasn't too concerned whether Lu Changsheng was recruiting her because of her beauty. Instead, she immediately weighed the pros and cons. After all, her current situation didn't leave her with many choices. Moreover, following Lu Changsheng was a very good choice. Because through all these judgments, Lu Changsheng wasn't just any great power reincarnated for recultivation. At the very least, he was a divinity transformation true monarch. Maybe even above the divinity transformation realm. Following Lu Changsheng, she might not only be able to revive, return to the peak, and avenge her grievances, but also have the chance to progress further. And, if she guessed correctly, and Lu Changsheng would, like that Saint King of Zhongzhou, establish his own familial dynasty in the future. Her current choice to follow him, seizing the initiative, could make her at the very least one of the heavenly consorts, if not the empress. It wasn't just Hong Lian. Su Rian was also struggling inside at this moment. Although the illusion heart talisman lasted only a moment, it had a significant impact on her psyche. She knew deep down that she was unwilling to die like this, unwilling to accept such a fate. And now, in the hands of Lu Changsheng, she probably couldn't even seek death if she wanted to. If not for the face of her senior, Hong Lian, Lu Changsheng in front of her might have already mistreated her in ways unimaginable. So she too was struggling with whether to obediently submit and become a servant or slave. After all, only by living is there a future. Submitting to Lu Changsheng would not only allow her to survive but also leave this place in the future. She might even gain a heaven-ranked demon beast to reclaim justice for her father and become the pride of the family. As for the price, it's just a matter of being humiliated by him, bearing perhaps 10 or 8 children. Such matters, naturally, Su Rian found difficult to accept, impossible to accept. Yet she clearly knew that she had no choice in this matter. Chapter 741. The Choice of Two Women. Even if she refused, with Lu Changsheng's means, if he truly wished to do so, she feared she would have no choice but to passively accept it. Since that was the case, why not turn passivity into initiative, humiliation into enjoyment? However, even though Su Rian consoled herself with such logic, her pride and self-respect nevertheless made it impossible for her to do such a thing. After all, not long ago, she was the cherished direct daughter of the Yushui Su family, carrying great fortune, and with a future that aspired to nascent soul. But at this moment, she was expected to serve as a slave and maidservant, which was too great a fall from grace. This moment gave birth to a strong regret in Su Rian's heart. She regretted why she had to carry out such an act, coming to Bai Lake Mountain to steal spiritual beasts. If she had followed grandfather's arrangements, by now she could have been safely making her foundation establishment breakthrough at home. After successfully establishing her foundation, she could have gone to temper herself in the Myriad Beasts mountain range. Or she could have returned to her family. Now the elder ancestor of the beast-taming Su family had less than 100 years to live, and the family was vigorously nurturing nascent soul seeds. If she were willing to return to her family, she could certainly stand out and smooth her way to core formation. But all these, due to her pride and stubbornness, had become but a fleeting dream. "Senior, take your time to consider," she said. Once you've made up your mind, feel free to let Mount Sumeru know, Lu Changxing said without urging Hong Lian to make a choice, nor demanding an immediate decision. He put away the Soul Fusion Resurrection Elixir and spoke. He then walked towards Changxing Hall with Ling Zixiao. Thank you, young Master Lu, Hong Lian said, bowing slightly to Lu Changxing. Although she had made up her mind to follow Lu Changxing, she still had some words to say to Su Ruyan. After all, after so many years of being together, she knew Su Ruyan's personality very well. She knew that someone with a stubborn and proud nature like her would not easily obey and submit to Lu Changxing. Yet, she didn't want to see Su Ruyan humiliated, or to simply fade away like a passing fragrance. Senior Hong Lian, I'm sorry, Su Ruyan said, biting her lip as she faced the senior before her. Girl, Hong Lian sighed softly. Her ephemeral form then dissipated into numerous tiny red dots, returning to the ancient beast-taming charm. She couldn't remain outside for long in her current state and needed the charm to maintain her soul body. Moreover, now within the Mount Sumeru cave heaven, it wasn't good for her to converse with Su Ruyan in such a state. Entering the ancient beast-taming charm also allowed her to conceal her words. After Hong Lian entered the charm, she had it returned to Su Ruyan's sea of consciousness. Girl, what do you plan to do? Hong Lian's voice arose, ethereal and gentle. Senior Hong Lian, I don't know, Su Ruyan said, her entire being enveloped in confusion. Although she was mature beyond her years, she had never experienced any major setbacks since childhood. Faced with such a situation now, she truly didn't know how to cope. Girl, regarding Lu Changxing, tell everything you know to me, Hong Lian instructed. Even though she planned to follow Lu Changxing, she basically had no understanding of him. The rough information she knew came from what Su Ruyan had told her previously. Senior Hong Lian, I don't know much about him either, Su Ruyan said softly. She then relayed to Hong Lian all that she knew about Lu Changxing and related matters. Inside Changxing Hall. With Mount Sumeru present, Zixiao, feel free to speak your mind, Lu Changxing said, noticing Ling Zixiao holding her words back, aware she was concerned about Hong Lian overhearing. There is nothing much, I only wish to inquire about young master's plans for Miss Su of the Su family and Senior Hong Lian, Ling Zixiao said with a light smile. From what I see, Senior Hong Lian seems to hold a good deal of affection for Miss Su. If young master wishes to tame the senior, arranging for Miss Su might be troublesome. Ling Zixiao had witnessed the entire event and clearly saw that Lu Changxing wanted to tame both Hong Lian and Su Ruyan, or rather primarily Hong Lian. But to tame Hong Lian, Su Ruyan couldn't be released at the moment, which made arrangements somewhat awkward. We're now the fish on the chopping board and they're the knife in our hands. Initiative naturally rests with us. Lu Changxing chuckled softly and continued, this senior Hong Lian is at least a nascent soul true lord. Taming her would be beneficial for both us and the family. As for Su Ruyan, as you Zixiao mentioned earlier, since she's come into this cave heaven and knows about Mount Sumeru, she can't be allowed to leave. It happens that this cave heaven actually needs a maidservant. If Su Ruyan is willing to obey, what I said earlier can certainly hold true. But if she's unwilling to comply, there's no need to indulge her, and the same goes for Senior Hong Lian, Lu Changxing said calmly. While his nature was carefree and he never coerced others, the fact that both came to his by Lake Mountain to thieve meant his willingness to offer them a chance was already quite generous. If neither of them were to appreciate the gesture, he wouldn't be courteous. In my view, Senior Hong Lian seems already tempted, willing to follow young master, Ling Zixiao observed. It's just because of Miss Su that she's unwilling to make a decision impulsively and leave. After all, in the cultivation world, obligations, grudges and karma are taken very seriously. Senior Hong Lian resides within Miss Su and is willing to help her, likely due to some karmic entanglement. Therefore, young master, for Senior Hong Lian's sake, it might be fitting to show some leniency towards Miss Su, Ling Zixiao suggested. While she was merely a foundation establishment cultivator with limited exposure, she was well aware that given Lu Changxing's status, even core formation and nascent soul cultivators would be surprised to encounter him. Chapter 742, The Choice of Two Women. Especially that soul fusion resurrection elixir, it's useful for reviving others. In the cultivation world, everyone strives in their practice for the sake of immortality and carefree living, to live life to the fullest with gusto. For a nascent soul true lord who is left with only a spirit, there is probably nothing more tempting than resurrection. And just as Lu Changxing said, people rise to higher positions just as water flows to lower places. Following Lu Changxing is clearly 100 times better than following Su Ruyan. Karmic debts and grudges? I understand. Now, it's up to that Miss Su to make her choice. Lu Changxing nodded and smiled, understanding the principle before leisurely chatting with Ling Zixiao. He mentioned that his pill furnace and elixir medicines were still in the process of refinement. In a little while, little Wangshu should also wake up. He needed to go and watch over her. Go ahead, my lord, your concubine will keep watch here. Hearing this, Ling Zixiao thought to herself that Lu Changxing truly doted on Lu Wangshu. Although Lu Changxing was kind to all the children in the family, she could see that he was clearly more affectionate toward certain ones. This couldn't but make her think of herself. Having been with Lu Changxing day and night for so many years, her relationship with Lu Changxing had long transcended the original bargain of him healing her in exchange for her being his cultivation partner and helping him build the family. She had already developed affection for him over time. So, seeing that Lu Changxing truly liked the children, she also considered whether she should have children with Lu Changxing. After all, over the years she had come to see by Lake Mountain as home, feeling a sense of belonging and wanting a child for herself. It was only because of physical reasons that she was not suitable for pregnancy and having children at the moment. But now, with the treatment from Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge, she estimated that another 3 to 5 years of recuperation should be enough for her body to recover. By then she could consider having children with Lu Changxing. Yet, seeing so many children, she sometimes wondered whether Lu Changxing would also show the same affection and favoritism to her own children as he did to Lu Wangshu. Although with her as their mother, her future children would certainly not be at a disadvantage, she too hoped that Lu Changxing as their father would show more favoritism to her children. Lu Changxing walked out of Changxing Hall. Upon seeing Lu Changxing, Su Rian, who was restrained in the air, revealed indescribably complex emotions in her beautiful eyes. Then she pursed her lips and called out to Lu Changxing, "Lu, Senior Lu." Lu Changxing, upon hearing this, looked towards Su Rian and raised an eyebrow. He wondered if she had come to a decision? The next moment, whoosh! An ancient talisman flew out from between Su Rian's brows, and as the talisman emitted colorful light, numerous crimson specks appeared, taking on the form of a red lotus. Has Senior Hong Lian come to a decision? Lu Changxing faced the ethereal and peerlessly elegant figure of Hong Lian, his face breaking into a smile as refreshing as a spring breeze. "Young Master Lu, if you wouldn't mind, Hong Lian is willing to follow you." Hong Lian, with her slender and graceful figure, came before Lu Changxing and offered a graceful curtsy. Even though Lu Changxing's cultivation was only at the level of foundation establishment, since she had decided to follow him, she adjusted her mindset accordingly. After all, Lu Changxing was the reincarnation of a mighty being starting anew. If she still maintained an air of superiority, it might displease him. Senior Hong Lian, Su Rian, seeing Hong Lian behave in such a way, bit her lower lip firmly. In her view, one of the reasons Hong Lian was doing so was for her own sake. Senior Hong Lian is being too polite. Since you are willing to follow me, I, Lu, am naturally most welcoming and honored. Lu Changxing said with a radiant smile, like a genteel gentleman giving others a sense of spring's warmth. Young Master Lu, if you don't mind, from now on you can call me Hong Lian. It's very inappropriate to call me senior. Hong Lian continued to speak. Although she was many times older than Lu Changxing, she naturally did not dare to act superior in front of him. Lu Changxing was inwardly surprised. He had not expected that the mighty soul and nascent soul predecessor before him would be so easy to talk to. Her attitude was almost excessively pleasant. But since Hong Lian said so, he naturally would not demur. After all, calling the future mother of his children senior did indeed sound strange. Well, though it also had a kind of charm. Fine, since that's the case, I will call you Hong Lian from now on, Lu Changxing said, smiling and nodding. Now that you are willing to follow me, Hong Lian, you may also put forth any conditions you may have. He had always believed in reciprocating respect. If others show respect to him, he would return it manifold. Since Hong Lian was so amenable, he would be likewise. Thank you, young master. Hong Lian felt a touch of gratitude upon hearing Lu Changxing's straightforward approach. After all, although she chose to follow Lu Changxing for the benefits, she did not wish to seem too mercenary by making immediate demands. Chapter 743, Hong Lian's Past, the Effect of Ancient Runes. _1 Hong Lian only wishes for the young master to give Rian a chance, Hong Lian said with a slight sigh. She knew that Lu Changxing couldn't possibly let Su Rian go at this moment. In their recent conversation, after gaining a detailed understanding of Lu Changxing's various actions and deeds, she also made some judgments in her heart. She believed that Lu Changxing, this person, shouldn't be some reincarnated old monster from the demon path or heretical path, and that his character was relatively decent. Therefore, she had also done some ideological work with Su Ruiyan, preparing her mentally. After all, although now they were trapped in a difficult situation, life was just so. Seizing the opportunity could turn a predicament into an opportunity. And Su Ruiyan's initiative in calling out to Lu Changxing clearly showed she had made a decision in her heart. Hee. Lu Changxing laughed upon hearing this. Then, with a smile that was not quite a smile, he turned to Su Ruiyan and said, "Right now in my cave heaven, I just happen to need a servant girl. In consideration of Hong Lian, as long as she is obedient and performs well, I'll honor all my previous words and will not treat her badly." "Thank you, young master," Hong Lian said, giving a deep bow, and did not continue to speak. "Don't you have any other conditions you wish to ask for?" Seeing this, Lu Changxing's brow arched, thinking that the Hong Lian before him was far too agreeable. Or rather, her attitude was unbelievably accommodating, and the process of subduing her was going too smoothly. Logically speaking, as a mighty soul and a nascent soul true lord, shouldn't she be full of arrogance? But the Hong Lian before him showed not the slightest arrogance and even seemed somewhat humble, which made him somewhat uncomfortable. "Hong Lian has not yet made any contributions to the young master. I dare not ask for too much. Moreover, I believe that in the future the young master will not treat me unfairly, just as the young master promised before, to restore my body and return to the peak," Hong Lian said in an elegant and gentle voice. She was dressed in a gorgeous palace gown, wearing a pearl crown, her face refined and perfect, giving off a sense of sacred nobility. Yet, before Lu Changxing she was like a servant girl, offering a great sense of accomplishment. "All right, Hong Lian, rest assured, once the time is right I will restore your body," Lu Changxing said with a nod and a smile. In his heart he thought, truly worthy of being a mighty soul. This attitude of maintaining a proper balance regardless of the situation made him extremely comfortable and his favorable impression soared. "By the way, Hong Lian, at your peak, what was your cultivation level, where did you come from, and how did you end up in such a state?" Lu Changxing asked. His purpose in subduing Hong Lian was mainly with the thought of making her his child's mother. But since she was currently in a state of soul without a physical body, she still needed to serve other purposes. Leaving everything else aside, just having Hong Lian with her vision and strength to instruct his children would be very good. At present, the cultivation of his children was primarily overseen by Lu Miaoyun and Ling Zixiao. Although the two of them were capable, honestly speaking they were not that great. Replying to the young master, "At my peak I was at the 7th level of nascent soul, from the Northern Plains cultivation realm, the Vermilion Bird Palace," Hong Lian said softly. "As for how I ended up in such a plight, originally my sect's disciples discovered a mysterious cave dwelling, suspected to be the sect ruins of the Feathering Ice Palace from the ancient times. I led the sect's disciples to fully explore and attempt to solve the ruins. The Ice Divine Palace attacked us during this, and in this great battle, we accidentally broke open the ruins' restrictions. As soon as the ruins were broken open, there were countless treasures bursting forth, which made both sides go completely insane, fighting one another. Reflecting on it now, at that time, there was a mysterious force affecting our mental spirit and consciousness. In that battle I was gravely injured and for some reason I didn't think of retreating. Instead of escaping into the great void with my nascent soul, I chose to self-destruct my nascent soul, to die alongside the enemy. But at the moment of my nascent soul's self-destruction, a mysterious power captured my soul. When I awoke, I was inside this ancient beast-taming charm, awakened by the young lady Su," Hong Lian said without hiding anything, slowly explaining how she had fallen to such a state. She still couldn't figure out what had happened to her at the time. Not just her, all the people present at the scene were severely affected, leading to such an intense and devastating battle. Otherwise, not just nascent soul true lords but even nascent soul immortals in a battle of equals wouldn't fight to the death like that. After all, everyone cultivates for Changxing. Once you become a nascent soul immortal, you have a lifespan of 500 years, why would you fight others to the death? So, she also wanted to see if Lu Changxing, this mighty senior, might know what was going on with her situation. Nascent soul 7th level. Northern Plains cultivation realm? Vermilion Bird Palace, Feathering Ice Palace, Ice Divine Palace? Self-destruction of nascent soul? Woke up inside an ancient charm. Upon hearing Hong Lian's words, Lu Changxing's expression was filled with surprise and disbelief. He had not heard of the Northern Plains cultivation realm, nor of the 3 sects. However, based on their names, he roughly guessed that this northern plains cultivation realm must be similar to the southern wilderness cultivation realm. As for Hong Lian's cultivation level, nascent soul 7th level, it also surprised him a little. Keep in mind that the number 1 cultivator of Jiang country, Li Duanshuan, was probably only at the early stage or middle stage of nascent soul. Yet the Hong Lian before him was a late-stage nascent soul cultivator. This was quite astonishing. But Hong Lian's experience also made him feel deeply moved. A late-stage nascent soul cultivator, having gone through a battle over a secret realm's ruins to the extent of self-destructing her nascent soul. This was simply outrageous. So that's why, Hong Lian Sr., you have fallen into such a situation. It was only then that Su Rian beside him came to know of these matters. Previously, Hong Lian had not disclosed to her why she had fallen to such a state. Hong Lian, is this northern plains cultivation realm similar to the southern wilderness cultivation realm? Chapter 744, Hong Lian's Past, the Effect of Ancient Runes. Lu Changxing inquired curiously. Upon hearing this, Hong Lian's heart immediately filled with surprise and doubt. She had not expected Lu Changxing to be unaware of the northern wilderness cultivation realm. Young master, as a reincarnated great being, how can you not know about the 5 great cultivation realms? Could it be, he is not from the 5 great cultivation realms, but from beyond the 5 domains? But I have never heard that beyond the 5 domains, there are other cultivation continents? However, looking at his reaction, he seems to truly be unaware of this, and even appears very astonished by this information. Could it be? Seeing Lu Changxing looking this way, Hong Lian's thoughts raced endlessly in her mind. She did not continue to ponder further but spoke out to explain to Lu Changxing. That's right, the northern wilderness cultivation realm and the southern wilderness cultivation realm are both part of one of the 4 great cultivation realms. Besides the southern wilderness cultivation realm and the northern wilderness cultivation realm, there are also the eastern sea cultivation realm, the western desert cultivation realm, and the central continent. Hong Lian explained this way. The eastern sea, the western desert, the southern wilderness, the northern wilderness, the central continent. Lu Changxing nodded thoughtfully upon hearing this. He had just realized how vast the cultivation world actually was. According to what he knew, the southern wilderness cultivation realm alone consisted of several hundred cultivation nations. Jiang country was but a small corner within the entire southern wilderness cultivation realm. And apart from the southern wilderness, there were 4 other immense cultivation realms. He did not continue to ask further. After all, he was currently at the foundation establishment stage himself and had not even ventured beyond Jiang country cultivation realm, making places outside the southern wilderness far too distant for him. Hong Lian, rest assured, should the opportunity arise in the future, I will help solve the mysteries of your past and avenge you, Lu Changxing spoke confidently. Although he was but a minor foundation establishment cultivator, the system by his side gave him the confidence and assurance to say these words to a nascent soul. Thank you, young master. Hong Lian was influenced by Lu Changxing's calm and self-assured demeanor, momentarily startled, still pondering over Lu Changxing's circumstances. That's right, it must be so. There are rumors of ancient beings transcending to break through their realm, reincarnating to recultivate their paths amidst the mortals. The young master must be aiming to follow a path similar to that ancient Saint King of the Central Continent, with all memories sealed, reducing the essence of the Dragon Emperor physique and the Tao of the Central Continent's Saint King to instincts, his goals set for this life. Even with the memories sealed, resembling an ordinary cultivator, this temperament and poise are clearly not something an average person could possess. This also clarifies why he lingered so many years in the secular world before. It must be that as the true spirit gradually awakens, he was able to retrieve the measures prepared in the previous life, allowing him to rise steadily. Hong Lian mulled this over in her heart. The more she thought about it, the more it seemed plausible, guessing Lu Changxing's situation roughly. This brought her some joy. After all, serving the master was like accompanying a tiger. Being in the presence of an old monster reincarnated from a great being truly made her anxious. She feared offending him in some way which might displease Lu Changxing. But if the other had reincarnated and did not possess memories of his previous life, her interactions with him would obviously be much more relaxed. During this time, she could also cultivate feelings with Lu Changxing as much as possible. Hong Lian, do you happen to possess any skills? What are you proficient in? Lu Changxing suddenly inquired. Besides the perspective of a nascent soul true lord, which could prevent the household children from deviating in their cultivation journey, He also wanted to see what else Hong Lian knew and could teach. Young master, I have some understanding of beast taming, formation, alchemy, artifact refining and talisman making, Hong Lian said softly. Some understanding? Lu Changxing raised his eyebrows asking for details. A third-rank top-tier beast tamer, third-order superior alchemist, third-rank middle-grade array master, third-rank lower-grade artifact refiner, third-rank lower-grade talisman master, Hong Lian stated. As a nascent soul cultivator who had lived for 1,000 years, apart from cultivating, she naturally spent time delving into various skills. Moreover, many skills that proved difficult for chi refinement and foundation establishment cultivators were much easier for nascent soul cultivators. Lu Changxing? Well played, you got me there. Is this what you call some understanding? In that moment, Lu Changxing couldn't help but feel impressed, truly worthy of a nascent soul true lord to know so much. To have raised 5 skills to the 3rd rank, encompassing all 4 mainstream cultivation arts. This made him curious to ask if Hong Lian, now in her soul state, was still capable of setting up arrays, refining pills and refining artifacts. However, this question he planned to ask later, speaking out, Hong Lian, you're aware of my situation, aren't you? I'm aware of some of it. Hong Lian nodded in response. Now, with so many children at home, I don't have much time to instruct them in cultivation and skills, so I want to entrust this task to you, Lu Changxing contemplated aloud. Hong Lian will certainly fulfill the task and teach the young masters and misses of the house well. Hong Lian hadn't expected Lu Changxing to trust her so much that he would entrust such an important matter to her right from the start. After all, if Lu Changxing were to follow the path of the Saint King of Central Continent, establishing a kingdom within the family, these children would be the foundation. The cultivation and education of these children were of utmost importance. If she were able to properly instruct and nurture these children, it would be a significant contribution. Earlier, she was still considering how she might prove her worth to Lu Changxing. Seeing that Lu Changxing entrusted such an important matter to her now relieved her. Good, since that's the case, the cultivation issues of the children at home will be your responsibility from now on, Lu Changxing declared. He planned to organize the family's sutra pavilion when the time came and let Hong Lian be in charge. Or perhaps he would allow Lu Miaoyun to come teach the children with the ancient charm. Yes, young master, Hong Lian replied with a curtsy. She then spoke, Young master, this ancient charm where my soul resides is named the Ancient Beast Taming Charm. Chapter 745, Hong Lian's Past, the Effect of Ancient Runes. It's helpful for nurturing demon beasts. If the young master's pet beasts need cultivating, you can entrust them to me for nurturing. However, this ancient beast taming charm is very compatible with Rian. If possible, I hope the young master can continue to let Rian wear it. Hong Lian said this. Upon hearing that Elder Hong Lian was still looking out for her, Su Rian felt touched, and her guilt towards Hong Lian deepened. Ancient beast taming charm? Nurturing demon beasts? Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing felt a pause in his heart and his expression brightened with joy. He had just been wondering whether Hong Lian, as a top-tier, 3rd-rank beast tamer, knew how to cultivate a cold blue dark turtle, a 9 netherhound or a 6-winged golden silkworm. Unexpectedly, Hong Lian took the initiative to mention an ancient beast taming charm that could assist in nurturing pet beasts. As for the matter of the ancient beast taming charm, I'll leave it to you, Hong Lian. Could you tell me what specific effects or functions this charm has? Lu Changxing asked. Although he recognized that the charm was a treasure, he didn't actually think of carrying it on himself. Because he had many secrets. If he carried the charm, would it not mean that Hong Lian could see everything, leaving no privacy or secrets? After all, though Hong Lian had pledged her allegiance, he still did not trust her much and needed Mount Sumeru to keep a close watch all the time. Thank you, young master. Seeing Lu Changxing agree so readily, Hong Lian was somewhat moved. On one hand, she made this request hoping to protect Su Rian through the charm. On the other hand, the charm's choice of Rian made her speculate that there must be some reason behind it all. She spoke up, currently the charm only has 2 effects, taming demon beasts and nurturing them, which is why I call it the ancient beast taming charm. The charm likely has other secrets, like the beast technique cultivation method that Miss Su practices, which I obtained from this charm, Hong Lian said openly without any concealment. Taming demon beasts, nurturing demon beasts, beast technique. Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow. The 2 effects of the charm sounded simple, but he found them to be extremely powerful. Because most Dao soldiers are made from demon beasts, this charm could tame and nurture demon beasts, It was simply a treasured item for cultivating Dao soldiers. He wanted his own Blackwater Dragon spirit weapon cultivated and thus asked aloud, Hong Lian, this charm should be able to nurture Dao soldiers, right? Any Dao soldier that is a demon beast can be nurtured, but the charm also needs to consume energy. If nurturing too many Dao soldiers, I might trouble the young master to provide spirit stones and heavenly and earthly treasures to replenish the charm's energy, Hong Lian said melodiously. That's not a problem as long as it can nurture, that's fine. Lu Changxing didn't mind the consumption of spirit stones or heavenly and earthly treasures. He laughed and said, At the moment, there is a Dao soldier at my home that requires nurturing, and he'll trouble you with it when the time comes. By the way, may I take a look at that beast technique? Through what he knew about Su Rian, he guessed that this cultivation technique involved cultivating through demon beast. He currently had 4 pet beasts. Pet beasts like the cold blue dark turtle and the 9 netherhound were rather underwhelming due to their slow growth. If this cultivation technique could let someone improve talent through demon beasts, he could allow his children to practice it at home. He could let his children use the pet beast he obtained from system draws to practice this cultivation technique. Of course you may, young master, Hong Lian said softly. Then she directed the ancient beast taming charm to Lu Changsheng's forehead, where it bloomed with colorful rays of light, and a cultivation technique emerged in Lu Changsheng's mind. After a while. Beast technique. This cultivation technique is truly profound. Having briefly looked over the technique, Lu Changsheng couldn't help feeling that it was incomparably mysterious. It was completely different from the few techniques he had acquired so far. If cultivated normally, it would be a mere common-level technique. But this technique could evolve. Through contracting with spirit beasts, the technique could evolve and ascend in rank. And the technique would tailor itself to the type of pet beast, fitting perfectly and thus aiding in breaking through cultivation bottlenecks. The stronger the bloodline potential of the spirit beast, the greater the enhancement of the technique. For example, by forming a contract with an Earth-grade bloodline spirit beast, this technique would then be about equivalent to a custom-tailored peripheral sect-level technique. If one could contract with a heavenly rank bloodline spirit beast, then the technique could be promoted to orthodox level. If one could contract with a true spirit, the technique could advance even further. This made Lu Changxing realize that the potential of this technique could even surpass that of orthodox-level cultivation techniques. Using it himself and contracting and refining the Mount Sumeru Tree King, he feared the technique could exceed the orthodox level. However, Lu Changxing had no intention of cultivating this technique. Firstly, cultivating this technique was very difficult. Not only did one need to comprehend the technique itself, but also the various accompanying techniques and divine skills would require much time to fathom. Cultivating this technique would be far less efficient than cultivating his 7 luminaries. Secondly, cultivating this technique would require investing a lot of time in nurturing demon beasts. Not to mention he didn't have this leisure. With the current state of the spirit vein at home, Mount Sumeru wouldn't be able to obtain much growth. So, using the Mount Sumeru Tree King for cultivation might be beneficial now, but it would become a burden later. Thirdly, it made more sense for the children at home to cultivate this technique, as the cost-performance ratio was obviously higher. Fourthly, Lu Changxing still held some expectations for the advanced level draw techniques within the system. He had obtained orthodox level cultivation techniques from the regular draws. The techniques from the advanced draws would obviously be higher than the orthodox level and wouldn't be weaker than this beast technique. This technique is not bad. Are there any restrictions on cultivating it? Lu Changxing withdrew his divine sense and asked Hong Lian. Young master, as long as one's comprehension is sufficient, and naturally if one has decent talent in beast taming even better, said Hong Lian. Alright, let's leave it at that for now, said Lu Changxing. Come with me to seize the spirit weapon, he said without further inquiry. Yes, young master, replied Hong Lian, before his faint form dissipated, turning into red light points that returned to the ancient beast taming charm. The charm quietly landed in front of Lu Changxing. Lu Changxing reached out and picked up the charm. The material of this ancient charm was unknown. Unlike gold or jade, nor like stone or wood, it felt curiously soft and comfortable in his hand. With the charm in hand, Lu Changxing walked out of Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven and went to his own fish farm. Su Rian felt a sense of emptiness as she saw Lu Changxing take away the charm and leave. But thinking about the attitude of the venerable Hong Lian in front of Lu Changxing, she felt an indescribable sense of frustration and discomfort. It was as if one's cherished love was taken away, powerless to stop it and having to watch as that love catered and sacrificed itself for someone else. Moreover, during the process one had to It was like a knife twisting in her heart. Chapter 746. Family Heritage Enhancement, Conditions to Return to the Peak. _1 Honglian, can these Tao soldiers of mine, beings of the aquatic kind, be placed into the ancient beast taming charm? Lu Changxing pointed at the blackwater dragon fish and blackwater dragon serpents in the fish farm and spoke aloud. My lord, there's no problem, Honglian communicated to Lu Changxing through divine sense. Subsequently, the ancient charm flew out, its colorful radiance pervading the area, collecting all 21 blackwater dragon fish and 18 blackwater dragon serpents from the fish farm within it. My lord, currently the space within the ancient charm can roughly enhance the growth rate of the Tao soldiers by 30%. Should the energy be sufficient and if cultivated with full effort, the increase can reach double. Honglian's voice continued to ring out. 30% double. Lu Changxing nodded his head. This rate of growth may sound ordinary, but in reality, it is quite exaggerated. These demon beasts, having been refined into Tao soldiers, are already equipped with methods of cultivation, making their growth speed faster than that of ordinary demon beasts. On top of that, to have such an enhancement in their growth rate, it is truly astonishing. In other words, with full effort in nurturing them, it is estimated that in 30 to 40 years, a considerable number of Tao soldiers will be able to advance to the second rank. By then, Bai Ling would have already broken through the foundation establishment stage, commanding these Tao soldiers, likely possessing the combat power to contend with core formation. However, thinking of Bai Ling's temperament, Lu Changxing felt there must be a few among his children capable of cultivating the Black Dragon Codex. Otherwise, it would be somewhat wasteful for these Tao soldiers. Honglian, aside from spirit stones, what heavenly materials and earthly treasures do you need? Lu Changxing put away the ancient charm and asked aloud. He was not concerned whether Honglian wished to use this as a means to restore her soul and strength. As long as she could properly nurture his family's spiritual beasts and Tao soldiers, and her demand for spirit stones was not excessive, everything was negotiable. After all, as long as it was within the domain of the Mount Sumeru Tree King at Bai Lake Mountain, she presumably wouldn't be able to play any tricks. My lord, in terms of heavenly materials and earthly treasures, mainly monster cores and spiritual medicine, Honglian spoke and indicated that the ancient beast taming charm could absorb monster cores and spiritual medicines, transforming them into some kind of spiritual liquid that aids in the growth of demon beasts. Monster cores, spiritual medicines, good. Lu Changxing nodded once again, transforming into an escape light that returned to the alchemy room at Baiyun Peak. Seeing his daughter still sleeping soundly on the couch, his eyes revealed a touch of tenderness. He then took out 10,000 spirit stones, several monster cores, and a pile of spiritual medicines from 2 storage bags. The spoils he had obtained from the 6 robber cultivators causing trouble in Red Leaf Valley Market had not yet been dealt with or converted into spirit stones. Because dealing with them was not only troublesome, but also he would have to sell at a lower price. Right now he was not in need of money. With his family's support he could slowly process them or gradually sell them through other channels. You keep these spirit stones and spiritual medicines first, and let me know if you need more later, Lu Changxing said to Honglian. Yes, my lord, Honglian responded softly. Looking at the pill furnace in the center of the alchemy room, she felt somewhat astonished and doubtful. She had not expected Lu Changxing to also be skilled in alchemy. She had chatted with Su Rian before and had not heard that Lu Changxing possessed alchemy skills. Afterwards she saw Lu Changxing, with his movements gentle and cautious and a face full of affection, cradle Lu Wangshu in his arms. Rumors say that the Dragon Emperor body not only makes nurturing children easier, but the offspring are also likely to be born with exceptional talents. As Honglian thought of the rumors about the Dragon Emperor body, she had a thought. She had previously been with Su Rian and seen Lu Wangshu. But at that time she only sensed her from a distance and did not scrutinize her closely. Now seeing how much Lu Changxing doted on this daughter, Honglian couldn't help but observe her seriously. This little girl, she must possess some kind of latent spiritual body. After observing for a while, Honglian felt a surge of astonishment as she noticed something unusual about Lu Wangshu. Although she couldn't determine what specific spiritual body Lu Wangshu possessed, she could tell she likely had some kind of spiritual body. This revelation left her extremely surprised. Spiritual bodies are rare, 1 in a million. And through her conversations with Su Rian, she knew that the talents of Lu Changxing's wives and concubines were nothing noteworthy. In such circumstances, to have a daughter casually possessing a rare and uncommon spiritual body was astonishing. Is this the power of the Dragon Emperor body, truly terrifying? Hong Lian mumbled to herself, no longer doubting the truth of Lu Changsheng's Dragon Emperor body. Yet, she couldn't help but be curious about how many of Lu Changsheng's 100-plus children possessed exceptional talents. Inside the alchemy room, Lu Changsheng held his daughter Lu Wangshu in one arm while drawing talismans with the other hand. Hong Lian watched Lu Changsheng's talisman-making skill flow like water, and she was mildly taken aback again. Because she could clearly see that Lu Changsheng's talisman-making skill was nearly at the level of Dao, absolutely proficient. Even though her talisman-making skill was at the 3rd rank, she dared not say that she could draw 2nd-rank talismans as smoothly as Lu Changsheng did. What kind of existence was he in his previous life? His spiritual root talent is merely low-grade, yet his skills and talents are so terrifying. Hong Lian was inwardly astonished. As a nascent soul true monarch, there were hardly any matters that could make her stirred on a regular basis. But today, everything about Lu Changsheng left her incessantly wondering and moved. She felt as if the man before her was like a fog. The more she observed, the deeper and more unfathomable he seemed, making her, a nascent soul true monarch, unable to see through him. As time slowly passed, the sky began to lighten. Lu Wangshu woke up, bleary-eyed and stretched languidly. Seeing that Lu Changsheng was still holding her, she immediately beamed and said cheerfully, "Daddy, good morning." You're awake." Lu Changsheng looked at his daughter and his mood naturally improved as he gently pinched her chubby, fair cheek. "Daddy, what about alchemy, the alchemy? Why didn't you wake me up?" Lu Wangshu looked around and, remembering about the elixir medicines, thought that Lu Changsheng had already finished making them, pouting in a grievance. Chapter 747. Family Heritage Enhancement, Conditions to Return to the Peak. "The elixir medicines aren't ready yet, look, they will be ready soon." Seeing his daughter in this state, Lu Changsheng's face showed an indulgent smile. He then set her down and struck a series of spells towards the alchemy furnace, reactivating the sealed furnace. As the flames in the furnace rekindled, the spiritual mechanism of the alchemy furnace surged, and Lu Changsheng exclaimed softly, "Open!" Boom! Billowing heat waves spread from the alchemy furnace, and after a moment, a stream of spiritual light flew out into Lu Changsheng's hand. "Wow, Daddy, you're so amazing. I want to see. By his side, Lu Wangshu, upon seeing this, immediately clapped her hands with excitement, wanting to see the elixir medicines in Lu Changsheng's hand. Lu Changsheng chuckled, squatted down, and handed the crystal-clear and plump spirit-nurturing elixirs to his daughter to see. "It smells so good, Daddy, can I eat one?" Lu Wangshu said, unable to resist biting her finger as she looked at the elixir medicines. Lu Changsheng glanced at his daughter. Immediately he said, "These spirit-nurturing elixirs are for the turtle to eat, we can't eat them. If you want to eat, you can only eat this candy bean." While talking, Lu Changsheng took out an elemental elixir to feed to his daughter. But Lu Wangshu still kept eyeing the spirit-nurturing elixirs in his hand, wanting to taste one. In the end, Lu Changsheng, holding his daughter, left the alchemy room, fed a spirit-nurturing elixir to the cold blue dark turtle, and told her that these candy beans were not for her to eat. Lu Wangshu then gave up the idea of tasting them. Looking at the cold blue dark turtle in front of him, Lu Changsheng wondered whether to apply the ancient beast taming charm for nurturing. But considering that his daughter would still need to feed and play with it every day, he decided against it for the time being. He planned to visit Rui Prefecture later and bring the 9 Netherhound back to nurture it with the ancient beast taming charm. Otherwise, more than 20 years had passed and the 9 Netherhound was still at the late stage of 1st grade. He didn't know how long it would take to break through to the 2nd rank. "Hong Lian, in your current state, are you still able to refine elixirs or cast techniques?" After handing his daughter to Chu Jinjin, Lu Changsheng asked Hong Lian. If Hong Lian was currently able to perform alchemy, artifact refining, talisman making, and array setting, it would be of great help to him and to the entire By Lake Mountain. "My lord, in my current state, my spirit is weakened, and I cannot stay away from the ancient beast taming charm for long, so I can only refine some simple elixir medicines. If my lord's needs aren't high, I can do a bit of alchemy, artifact refining, talisman making, and array setting." Hong Lian said so. "Good, later I will give you the cultivation method of the spirit weapon, and from now on, you will handle this matter." Lu Changsheng said, planning to entrust the nurturing of the Blackwater Dragon spirit weapon to Hong Lian. "Yes, my lord." Hong Lian responded. Back in Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven, Lu Changxing looked at Su Rian, who was still bound in the air with her delicate and cold features, shining supple hair, snow-white radiant skin, wearing only a fiery red dress with golden phoenix embroidery, her expression one of amusement, and said, "Miss Su, have you decided?" Su Rian shuddered upon hearing this and after a long while, said in a low voice, I have decided." "Decided what?" Lu Changxing's eyebrows raised as he asked. Sigh. Hong Lian within the ancient beast taming charms sighed softly. She knew that at this juncture, it was all up to Su Rian herself. If she could overcome this obstacle, she could turn a dire situation into an opportunity. If not, there was nothing Hong Lian could do to help. "I am willing to serve Lu Master as a slave and a maid," Su Rian said with clenched teeth, struggling through her words. The time Lu Changxing had left with Hong Lian felt like years to her, as she was constantly battling internally. She knew that Lu Changxing and Senior Hong Lian were right. She was indeed a captive. Hoping to leave this place clean and unscathed was simply not possible. He could easily have her if he wanted. What was the point of her struggling? So, she could only hope that he would keep his promises, which would be a considerable fortune amidst the misfortune. Mount Sumeru. Lu Changxing watched as Su Rian lowered her proud head and chuckled lightly. In an instant, Su Rian, who had been bound, fell from the air. Her long, snow-white legs slightly wobbled, and she stumbled as she landed in front of Lu Changxing, causing her chest to quiver. Truly pitiable. I remember when I first met Miss Su at the Zheng family, she had an air of elegant nobility, Lu Changxing said as he stood in front of Su Rian, the two of them very close to each other, nearly brushing her delicate nose. He extended his hand, stroked her forehead gently, and twined a few strands of her fiery red shiny hair around his fingers, saying, "To transform the esteemed pearl of the Su family into an obedient and docile maidservant has indeed some unique allure for Lu." Upon hearing these words, Su Rian felt a sharp pain in her heart. Her proud self-esteem seemed to be trampled by Lu Changxing. Once upon a time she was the esteemed pearl of the Su family. Whether it was within the family or outside, everyone was courteous to her, let alone touching her like this. And now she was being played with at will by Lu Changxing. She wanted to slap his hand away and reprimand him fiercely. But she knew that Lu Changxing was doing this on purpose, to make her submit, so she had to endure it. "Miss Su, do you know the proper attitude of a maidservant?" Lu Changxing eyed Su Rian, who stood tall and graceful, with disheveled hair and a strong defiant look in her eyes. He lifted her delicate chin teasingly and said. Yet, in his heart, he couldn't help but feel a dark desire that every man harbors, to pull a high-born fairy down to hell, to dominate and play with her at will. Although the Su Rian before him did not possess the untouchable and lofty status of a fairy, as the pearl of the Su family, her status was indeed noble. Especially during their first meeting, she left him with a rather good impression. Thus, seeing her currently standing in front of him with a stubborn and humiliated expression, being toyed by him, truly had its own unique flavor. Chapter 748, Family Heritage Enhancement, Conditions to Return to the Peak. However, he knew that Su Rian before him still required proper training. In Su Rian's stubborn and beautiful eyes, confusion and helplessness emerged. As a young lady of her family, how could she possibly know what the attitude of a maidservant was like? Yet, thinking of how the maids at home served her, her slender, jade-like hands clenched into fists and she bit her lip. Eventually, with a trembling figure, she knelt before Lu Changxing, bowing down. "Rian, pays her respects to the young master." Huh? Lu Changxing was somewhat surprised. He didn't expect Su Rian to adapt so quickly. He stroked his chin and said with a light laugh, "Take off your clothes." Su Rian didn't speak, her soft and fair jade arms lifted, somewhat trembling as she undid her undergarments. With the undergarments falling to the floor and resting on her beautiful feet, her naked, exquisite body was fully revealed. Tsk, this adaptability, this change of heart, truly is extraordinary. But even here it is fiery red. Lu Changxing regarded the seductive figure of Su Rian before him, clicking his tongue inwardly. However, even though Su Rian seemed submissive, kneeling before him, there was still a trace of haughtiness and inviolability in her expression. Not at all like the maids in the White Jade Tower who had been trained, their eyes dull and lifeless. But having light in her eyes, slowly training her myself, seems more interesting. Lu Changxing touched his chin and said. Su Rian, though incapable of actively flirting and serving in a charming manner, even clumsy and inexperienced in serving, if she were to completely submit under his training, it seemed to him that there could indeed be a different kind of interest and sense of achievement. That's enough, tidy yourself up. Just stand by the side, I will call you if there's anything I need. Lu Changxing, feeling somewhat heated at the sight of the enticing body before him, said to Su Ruiyan. He didn't directly pluck the tempting fruit before him. After all, such things are more interesting when done slowly. And he didn't want Su Ruiyan to change so noticeably all at once. After speaking, he returned the ancient beast taming charm to Su Ruiyan. He didn't want to go too far, it was also to give Hong Lian some respect. The ancient beast taming charm returned to the sea of consciousness in Su Ruiyan's forehead. Hong Lian said nothing, knowing that at this time, Su Ruiyan needed to be left alone quietly. Su Ruiyan also didn't speak, her expression wooden. She knew the moment she called for Lu Changxing to stay, she could only obediently listen and cooperate. In fact, deep down she didn't have the courage to resist Lu Changxing. After all, even the senior Hong Lian had submitted to Lu Changxing, her resistance would be nothing but self-inflicted suffering. My lord. In the Grand Hall's bedroom, Ling Zixiao was suddenly embraced by Lu Changxing and let out a soft whine through her nostrils. 3 days later, Lu Changxing returned to Rui Prefecture for a while and brought the 9 Netherhound back to Bai Lake Mountain. This, another heavenly rank bloodline demon beast. Hong Lian was shocked to see Lu Changxing bringing back a heavenly rank bloodline demon beast. Although to her, a nascent soul true lord, a heaven-rank beast was not exceedingly rare, it wasn't commonplace either. Su Ruiyan also saw the 9 Netherhound. This caused her to be shocked and at the same time to believe in Lu Changxing's words a bit more. After all, Lu Changxing had already revealed 3 heavenly rank bloodline demon beasts and 1 true spirit-level demon beast. Who knew if there were any more heavenly ranked demon beast? As long as she behaved and performed well, it didn't seem like a big deal to give herself one. Subsequently, Lu Changxing briefly explained the situation with Hong Lian to Lu Miaoyun. He stated that for the children's cultivation, they should consult with Hong Lian directly. On the first day of each month, they would bring the ancient beast taming charm to their children for cultivation guidance and pointers. At the same time, Lu Changxing gave Hong Lian the cultivation methods of the Blackwater Dragon Spirit weapon as well as all other techniques from the system. After all, in order to have Hong Lian give guidance in cultivation, he definitely had to pass on the techniques to her. Faced with this situation, Hong Lian forthwith disclosed her inheritance from Vermilion Bird Palace. It included 2 orthodox-level cultivation techniques, 7 peripheral sect-level cultivation techniques, more than 10 exquisite-level cultivation methods, and the inheritance of 5 third-rank skills. One could say that with this contribution from Hong Lian, Lu Changxing's family became the number 1 in Jiang country regarding the foundation of cultivation techniques. Would this be too much? Seeing Hong Lian disclose so many inheritances, Lu Changxing said somewhat apologetically. Hong Lian is now the young master's person. These techniques and inheritances naturally belong to the young master, Hong Lian said deferentially. The favor of a lady is indeed hard to accept. Lu Changxing felt somewhat at a loss due to Hong Lian's actions. After all, he had promised to restore her physical body and bring her back to her peak. But now he hadn't done anything yet, and here Hong Lian was starting to cultivate demon beast Dao soldiers for him and teach his children. Moreover, she contributed so many techniques and inheritances all at once, which really made him feel a bit embarrassed. Hong Lian, you are now only left with your divine soul. If you want to restore your body and return to the peak, just the soul fusion resurrection elixir might not be enough, right? Lu Changxing asked Hong Lian. Young master, with the soul fusion resurrection elixir, as long as I have a body, I will be able to merge with it and come back to life. However, in such a state, returning to the peak would be almost hopeless. To return to the peak, I must have a suitable body that can match and accommodate my divine soul. Moreover, my divine soul is currently weak. I can only rely on the ancient beast taming charm for nourishment, and to return to the peak and perfectly fuse with a body, my divine soul must also recover to its peak. Hong Lian spoke, her voice tinged with bitterness. With the soul fusion resurrection elixir, resurrection was simple for her. The challenge was returning to her peak strength. If she randomly chose a body and took the soul fusion resurrection elixir, not to mention returning to her peak, even returning to the nascent soul stage would be hopeless. A suitable body? Restoring the divine soul? Hearing this, Lu Changxing's brows raised and he said, what exactly qualifies as a suitable body? Young master, for example, the bones of a nascent soul cultivator can be used to refine an external incarnation of spiritual objects from heaven and earth, or a body shaped by some heavenly materials and treasures. Hong Lian, knowing that Lu Changxing was unfamiliar with these details, explained. The bones of a nascent soul cultivator, refining an external incarnation of spiritual objects from heaven and earth, a body shaped by heavenly materials and treasures. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing's mouth twitched. He felt that, aside from relying on the system, it was nearly impossible for him to obtain these items at the moment. He spoke, "All right, I will keep an eye out for these things for you." Although he wouldn't immediately resurrect Hong Lian even if he had such treasures now, he naturally couldn't speak poorly given her expression of intent. "Thank you, young master." Hong Lian's voice was soft and pleasing as she spoke. In addition to the matter of mentoring the children, upon seeing Ling Zixiao still setting up the divine wood grate formation by herself, Lu Changxing promptly asked Hong Lian to assist Ling Zixiao with the formation and exchange knowledge about formations with her in their spare time. After all, as a third-rank array master, Hong Lian's pointers would be greatly beneficial to Ling Zixiao. Chapter 749. The auction begins. Heavenly longevity technique mastered. _1 Before she knew it, more than a month had passed. With Hong Lian present, Lu Miao's guidance on her children's cultivation became much simpler. However, even with Hong Lian, not all of her children started cultivating top-tier cultivation techniques. Most were still cultivating exquisite-level cultivation techniques, and even advanced-level ones. For the majority, unless one had an exceptional talent and a perfect affinity, forcibly cultivating peripheral sect-level or even orthodox-level top-tier cultivation techniques would yield minimal progress, despite succeeding in the initial stages, due to its inefficiency and unworthiness. During this time, Lu Changxing had no particular arrangements for Su Ruyan. He simply let her serve like a maid, carrying tea and water, massaging and bathing, and occasionally teasing her to add some joy to the mundane days. Since the auction at Red Leaf Valley Market was approaching. On this day, Lu Changxing, accompanied by his wife Lu Miaohuan and Chu Jinjin, his children Lu Pinggan, Lu Xianji, Lu Chuanjin, Lu Qingsong, Lu Wangshu and others, arrived at Red Leaf Valley Market to attend the auction. Because of the fame of Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge, coupled with nearly half a year's build-up by the marketplace, Red Leaf Valley Market had attracted a great number of cultivators, making it much livelier. "You guys go have a look around on your own," Lu Changxing said to Lu Pinggan and his siblings as he held on to his daughter Lu Wangshu. Bai Lake Mountain had been in a semi-closed state for over 3 years, and the children had not left during that time. Now that they rarely went out, he naturally let them roam freely. Furthermore, with no movement from Xiahou Wuwa in over 3 years, Lu Changxing also planned to lift the semi-closed state of the mountain, allowing some of his children to go out. After all, if Xiahou Wuwa did not appear, he couldn't keep his children confined to the family forever. Many of the family's businesses gradually needed the children to start managing them. Moreover, in the past few years, through the collection of talisman-making materials, he had nurtured over a dozen rare third-rank spirit talismans by using the talisman nurturing method. When the time came, he could implant life-saving talismans into some of his children who were going out. "Yes, father." "Thank you, father," the siblings replied to Lu Changxing. Lu Xianji and Lu Rui, who had lived in Red Leaf Valley Marketplace for a while in the early years, introduced the marketplace to their older brother, younger brother, and sisters. Lu Changxing strolled through the market with his wives, checking on the businesses owned by his family. At that moment, walking through the marketplace, he encountered countless cultivators who showed him respect, admiration, envy, and infatuation. Many young girls and female cultivators' eyes seemed to glisten with water as they glanced at Lu Changxing. If he were willing at that moment, he could probably just signal, and many female cultivators would eagerly offer to become his concubines. This was not because his charm had increased. He had always contained the charm that emanated from him at all times. But as his fame and status grew, so did his charm rise to a whole new level. Lu Changxing arrived at Peace Talisman Hall. Under Gao He's management and Lu Changxing's reputation, Peace Talisman Hall had become the #1 spirit talisman shop in Red Leaf Valley Market. "Old Gao, you've worked hard these years. If you're thinking of retiring, you can come to Bai Lake Mountain," Lu Changxing said as he saw his old friend Gao He. The two knew each other for more than 2 decades. Gao He, now in his 60s, looked quite elderly with gray hair and numerous wrinkles. His once full face was now thinner, but the traces of his former robustness remained visible. "Thank you for the kind offer, boss," Gao He replied respectfully, looking at the eternally youthful, outstanding man in a blue robe before him. He rarely saw Lu Changxing these years. But with every meeting as he himself grew older and saw the forever young Lu Changxing, he couldn't help but be filled with emotion. Who could have imagined that the son-in-law of the Lu family, with whom he once bragged and discussed the talisman path, would now become a patriarch of a territory? After briefly discussing the shop's situation, Lu Changxing left with his wives and concubines. Upon seeing Lu Miaoge, Lu Changxing asked, "Sister Miaoge, how is the collection of materials for your Water of Virtue container and the Tai Chi talisman going?" "The materials for the Water of Virtue container have been gathered. The Tai Chi talisman is still missing two components," Lu Miaoge responded softly. However, she would still need an artifact refiner to craft her life-bound spiritual artifact. "After the auction is over, I will craft it for you," Lu Changxing said. Because of the cultivation technique inheritance from the system, he had mastered crafting the life-bound spiritual artifact related to the Water of Virtue technique. He could help Lu Miaoge craft the embryo of the spiritual artifact. Okay, Lu Miaoge, somewhat astonished, still chose to trust Lu Changxing and nodded in agreement. 5 days later, the auction officially began. Lu Yuanzhong, by Yunyang, elder ancestor of the Su family, and many powerful families from the surrounding area, along with a good number of Foundation establishment loose cultivators, came to Red Leaf Valley Market to join the auction. Because the auction had been hyped up for so long, several major families brought out many valuable items. Lu Changxing also took out some second-ranked talismans as finale items. Greetings to Lu Mountain Lord. Madam Lu. Daoist Zhao, Daoist Lin, Daoist Li, Daoist Xiao. Lu Changxing, with his wife and holding his daughter Lu Wangshu, greeted and made small talk with the Foundation establishment ancestors from other family powers. During this time he spotted Su Ringguang. The man's expression carried a trace of worry. Through casual conversation, Lu Changxing learned that Su Ringguang was troubled because his granddaughter Su Rian had run away from home, which gave Lu Changxing a peculiar feeling. After all, his granddaughter Su Rian was currently acting as a maid in his own home. Thank you all, esteemed seniors and friends, for joining us. I'm Lu Chuanjun, by Yujun, honored to host the auction today. I wish everyone can obtain what they wish for. After the audience nearly filled the venue, a man and a woman stepped onto the stage of the auction. The man was about 20 years old, wearing an elegant blue brocaded robe, with refined and handsome features and long deep eyes. Chapter 750. The auction begins. Heavenly longevity technique mastered. The girl was around 18 or 19 years old, clad in a white, gorgeous dress, with a slender figure and a sweet, pretty face. Now the Lu family of Blue Lake Mountain was nearly leading the 4 great families, which was why the auction was hosted by people dispatched by Lu Changxing. Hence, Lu Changxing picked among his children and had his son Lu Chuanjun oversee it. As for Bai Yujun, she was a daughter of the Bai family from Hundred Birds Lake. Lu Changxing felt it somewhat improper for his family to have full control over the entire process. By having the Bai family arrange for someone to appear, it would just so happen to make a paired set with 1 male and 1 female. Husband, this young lady looks quite a match for Chuanjun. Chu Jinjin, standing nearby, saw her son with the Bai family girl on stage, and excitement flashed across her face. She had always been urging her son Lu Chuanjun to marry. But her son avoided her every day, which led her to try matchmaking whenever she saw him near any girl. Hee. Lu Changxing did not wish to get involved in this topic. Because if he responded to Chu Jinjin even briefly, she would surely act coquettishly and have him go and work on Lu Quanzhen's mindset. Caught between being both a husband and a father, he found himself in a difficult position. Mom, brother really doesn't want to get married. If you say something he will just avoid you even more, and it's still early. Lu Caizhen put an arm around her mother's and spoke in defense of her brother. After all, Lu Chuanjun was somewhat stern on normal days, but he was extremely caring towards his younger brothers and sisters. What do you mean it's early? Your Yun brother is a year younger than Chuanjun, and he already has 3 children. And you're not young anymore either, you can't be like your brother. Chu Jinjin said somewhat grievously. Hearing this, Lu Caizhen's head shrank and she immediately went quiet, fearing the fire might be drawn to herself. Sisters Lu Miaoge and Lu Miaohuan nearby both smiled at this scene. Watching Lu Chuanjun hosting the auction on stage brought Lu Miaohuan to think of her eldest son, Lu Qingshan. Compared to her somewhat more honest younger son, Lu Qingsong, she favored the normally mischievous Lu Qingshan more. After all, her son might be naughty, but he brought joy to their daily lives, often cheerfully brightening up his mother's mood. Moreover, she hadn't seen this son for nearly 5 years. Huan, what's wrong? Lu Changxing, with his keen perception, noticed that his wife, Lu Miaohuan, suddenly seemed a bit downcast. It's nothing. Lu Miaohuan came back to her senses and spoke softly. Even though she longed to visit her son at the Jinyang sect in Yu country, she knew the current family circumstances prevented Lu Changxing and Lu Miaoge from leaving. Lu Changxing held her delicate and fair hand without uttering a word, knowing that Lu Miaohuan missed her son Lu Qingshan. Over the years, Lu Miaohuan often found herself thinking of this son. The first item for auction, War Beast Puppet, crafted by our Blue Lake Mountain Lu family, is a first-grade top-quality item, capable of offense and defense, with excellent speed and inscribed with several techniques. At this moment, Lu Chuanjin had started to introduce the first item up for auction. This was a puppet crafted by the Blue Lake Mountain Puppet Workshop. However, it couldn't yet be mass-produced, so it was being used for promotional purposes, to build a reputation. Chuanjin is doing quite well. His management of his first auction is orderly and composed. Lu Miaoge voiced her praise. Chuanjin indeed handles this aspect very well. I was planning to have Shinji take charge, but in such occasions his personality makes him too rigid and prone to stage fright. Lu Changxing, reclining on a soft chair, nodded in agreement. Chu Jinjin, as a mother, beamed with happiness when she heard her son being praised. Besides not listening to her teachings in other aspects, her son indeed gave her peace of mind, which made her proud. Especially the way he treated his younger brothers and sisters regularly reminded her of her own elder brother, Chu Changge. Time passed bit by bit. The auction was divided into 3 sessions and lasted 3 days before concluding, and the scale was anything but small. But the Red Leaf Valley market was, after all, just an auction held by a few foundation establishment families, so the grade of the auction items was limited. Lu Changxing didn't think it was appropriate to offer 2 rare items. For example, the treasure map he prepared for auction. After some deliberation, he decided against auctioning it. Otherwise, he only needed to produce a single foundation establishment elixir and start advertising the treasure maps, and the auction might have been 10 times busier. After the auction ended, Lu Changxing and the other 3 families had already negotiated to open some beneficial regulations for the market, trying their best to retain some of the traffic. Also, after the auction, Lu Changxing and the ancestral figures of other families, as well as loose cultivators at the foundation establishment level, held a trade meeting. Even though he didn't find what he wanted, he managed to gather the 2 materials needed for Lu Miaoge to refine her life-bound spiritual artifact, the Tai Chi Talisman. Father-in-law, how is the situation with the foundation establishment at home progressing? Upon seeing Lu Yuanding, Lu Changxing asked about the foundation establishment at Qingzhou Mountain. The family recently spent a significant sum to purchase a earth-fire essence. Mu Ping has a fire spiritual root and switched to practicing the greenwood solar flame technique, so this earth-fire essence suits him well. Moreover, Miao Feng, due to past events, is also considering making concessions, planning to go out and try his luck on his own. Lu Yuanding said with a slight sigh. He too was quite troubled about the foundation establishment for these 2 individuals. Lu Miaofeng had a 4th-grade spiritual root and had already attempted foundation establishment once, making his odds of breaking through considerably higher. But due to his previous foundation establishment failure, Lu Miaofeng might encounter a heart demon, feel excessive pressure, fear another failure, and disappoint the family expectations. Compared to Lu Miaofeng, Lu Muping was only 40 years old and even younger. Lu Changxing nodded without interjecting further. Since the chances of both individuals breaking through to foundation establishment were closely matched, Qingzhou Mountain was more concerned about the situation than he was. Chapter 751, The Auction Begins. Heavenly Longevity Technique Mastered. With the auction fully concluded, Lu Changxing also prepared to return to Bai Lake Mountain with his wife and children. Father. At this time, Lu Chuanjin expressed to Lu Changxing that he wished to leave home to gain experience and venture out into the world. To go out and gain experience? Lu Changxing frowned slightly upon hearing this. He had long known that this son of his harbored a desire to travel and adventure. If it weren't for the establishment of Bai Lake Mountain and being called back home by himself, he probably would have gone out long ago. Wait until you break through to the 6th level energy refinement. Lu Changxing looked at his son in front of him, speaking after a slight pause. He could understand his children wanting to leave home for experience, not willing to settle within the family. After all, most members of big families were clear about one thing. If they settled within the family without venturing out for experience, it was highly unlikely to achieve foundation establishment in their lifetimes unless they had exceptional talent. Even though the conditions at Bai Lake Mountain were far superior to those of Qingzhou Mountain, Hundred Birds Lake, Wugong Ridge, and even the Yushui Su family and other family powers, they still couldn't train many of their children to achieve foundation establishment. At most, they could train them up to the energy refinement late stage. To establish a foundation would still be up to them. And Lu Chuanzhen obviously saw this point. He knew his own spiritual route was not good, just an 8th grade spiritual route, so he had planned his life's path early on. However, in Lu Changsheng's view, a cultivation level at the 5th level energy refinement was still a bit too low. When he reached the 6th level, if his son still wanted to go out, he would give him a life-saving spirit talisman. Many thanks, father. Upon hearing this, Lu Chuanzhen immediately responded with respect. He knew that if his father agreed to it, then the matter was settled. Use this time to prepare your mother mentally, don't just run off without saying a word. Lu Changxing said as he patted his son's shoulder. The fledgling eagle must spread its wings. If this son did not have his own opinions and the desire to venture out in his heart, he would have actually been inclined to hand over the position of family head to him. Given the personalities of Lu Pingan, Lu Xianji, and Lu Yun, they did not quite suit the role of Bai Lake Mountain family head. Father, you know that if I tell mother, she definitely won't agree, so I can only trouble you with this. Lu Chuanzhen with a handsome face showed a helpless and bitter smile. Sai, just be a bit more accommodating to your mother, that's all, don't constantly avoid her. The more you avoid her, the more she'll worry. If it really comes to it, just tell her that on this trip to gain experience, you'll also keep an eye out for a woman you love. Lu Changxing shook his head as he spoke. He too had often been troubled by Chu Jinjin urging Lu Chuanzhen to get married. Yes, I understand, father. Lu Chuanzhen smiled, making the corners of his eyes seem more elongated. His facial features were similar to Lu Changxing's by 70%, but his eyebrows and eyes were inherited from his mother, especially when he smiled. After returning to Bai Lake Mountain with his wives and children, Lu Changxing briefly dealt with some family affairs and his children's situations before returning to Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven. My lord. Su Rian, in a flaring red dress with a fine and stunning face, immediately greeted Lu Changxing with great respect upon seeing him. Emichim, I encountered your grandfather at the auction. He's very worried about your situation. Lu Changxing said with a light smile. Grandfather? Su Rian's delicate body trembled violently when she heard this. Having been in Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven for so long, what concerned her the most was the situation back home. She said with downcast eyes, Thank you, my lord, for informing me. When you left home, did you say anything about when you would return? Lu Changxing's voice was gentle as he wrapped his arms around her slender, snake-like waist and drew her into his embrace, asking softly. The action and his concerned tone made Su Rian's heart tremble. If it wasn't for knowing another side of Lu Changxing, she would have found herself unable to resist falling for him in such close quarters. Sometimes she even wondered if the outcome would be different if she hadn't resorted to stealing and instead had chosen to marry Lu Changxing proactively. Nothing. Su Rian tensed slightly, her delicate body leaning obediently against Lu Changxing's chest, letting his strong arms enfold her. She knew that to win Lu Changxing's favor, she had to appear docile and obedient in front of him. You have a life token, a soul lamp and such items at home, don't you? Lu Changxing sat down on a bamboo chair nearby, embracing her graceful figure and twirling a strand of her fiery red crystal-clear hair between two fingers. The silky smooth texture of Su Rian's hair was very comforting to touch, something he often played with. Moreover, over the course of more than a month under his tutelage, she had gradually begun to nuzzle his palm on her own initiative, like a docile kitten, giving him an intense sense of achievement. It could only be said that bullying women was also in a man's nature. Yes, Su Rian murmured softly. Despite the humiliation and the control over her movements now, she sadly found herself gradually becoming accustomed to it. Since you have a life token and a soul lamp, your family won't worry. Lu Changxing chuckled lightly. After teasing Su Rian for a while, he entered the Changxing Hall's cave dwelling and began to craft a spiritual artifact embryo for Lu Miaoge. Time flew and in the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. On this day as usual, Lu Miaoyan came to the back mountain of the Lingxiu cliff. She took out the formation command given to her by Ling Zixiao, stepped into the formation, and looked at the luminous treasure tree before her. Heavenly Longevity Technique, Refine. Lu Miaoyun sat cross-legged in front of the luminous treasure tree, her hands forming seals, using her internal spiritual power to refine the luminous treasure tree in front of her. To say it was refining was actually more akin to merging. Because after more than a year of refinement, she had already established a connection with the luminous treasure tree, the two almost becoming one. She could even vaguely sense the emotions of the luminous treasure tree. Now the task was to completely refine the luminous treasure tree, making it her life-bound spiritual root, merging completely with her. As she refined the luminous treasure tree, a surge of qi from the tree rushed into Lu Miaoyun's body. What's this? Lu Miaoyun suddenly felt her spiritual power uncontrollably pouring out of her, being devoured by the luminous treasure tree. In the past, it was always her nourishing the luminous treasure tree with her spiritual power. But this time, the luminous treasure tree actively devoured her spiritual power, causing her complexion to turn pale. Lu Miaoyun, realizing something, immediately took out several spirit stones from her storage bag to recover her spiritual power. At the same time, she poured out a bottle of spiritual liquid for the luminous treasure tree. Buzz. Just as Lu Miaoyun's spiritual power was nearly drained by the luminous treasure tree, a mysterious and subtle vibration surged into her heart, making her whole person feel light and clear. Hu. A torrent of spiritual mechanism emerged from the luminous treasure tree, enveloping Lu Miaoyun completely, beckoning countless nature's spiritual energies to roll towards her and enter her body. Boom. In an instant, Lu Miaoyun's body shook violently, and a breeze swept around her. The bottleneck she had faced for years, from the 6th level energy refinement to the 7th level energy refinement, was broken in that moment. But it didn't stop there. A rich essence of plants and trees, the origin source from the luminous treasure tree, continued to pour into her body. Chapter 752. The Effect of the Heavenly Longevity Technique, Heading to the White Jade Tower. _1 atop by Yun Peak. Ling Zixiao was with Su Ruiyan, arranging the Divine Wood Great Formation. Sensing the spiritual energy of Lingzue Cliff and the operation of the formation, her expression became slightly focused. She immediately stopped setting up the formation and flew towards Lingzue Cliff to check the situation. Is this, the Heaven and Earth Longevity Technique, successful? After Ling Zixiao arrived at the back mountain of Lingzue Cliff, she saw Lu Miaoyun and the luminous treasure tree enveloped in a mist of spiritual mechanisms, seemingly as one entity. Although she had seen the Heaven and Earth Longevity Technique before, she did not know the specific effects of its refinement. Moreover, since this cultivation technique involved refining different nature spirit plants into one's life-bound spiritual root, results could vary significantly. She immediately took out a yin-yang sensing talisman to have Lu Changxing come over and take a look. Changxing Hall in the retreat cave dwelling. The Heaven and Earth Longevity Technique has succeeded? Lu Changxing was in the process of refining a spiritual artifact embryo when he received Ling Zixiao's message. He immediately got up, left Mount Sumeru Cave Heaven and came to Lingzue Cliff. There he saw Lu Miaoyun sitting cross-legged, inhaling and exhaling the surrounding spiritual energy of nature. At this moment, she and the luminous treasure tree's mechanisms were merged, indistinguishable from each other. Zixiao, gather spiritual energy, Lu Changxing said directly to Ling Zixiao, instructing her to converge the surrounding spiritual energy towards Lingzue Cliff. He also took out several middle-grade spirit stones from his storage bag, crushing them to release the rich spiritual energy within. He could tell that Lu Miaoyun was likely in the process of refining the luminous treasure tree into her life-bound spiritual root. However, because the growth grade of the spirit plant was quite high and Lu Miaoyun's cultivation level was too low, she received nourishment from the spirit tree, causing a breakthrough in her cultivation level. Good. Ling Zixiao nodded, took out an array plate, pinched a spell, and drew the spiritual energy from all around Lingzue Cliff towards them. Hu. As the spiritual energy of nature entered her body, Lu Miaoyun's cultivation level, after breaking through the 7th level energy refinement, climbed step by step. After about half a day, her cultivation level broke through from the 7th level energy refinement to the 8th level energy refinement. Could Miaoyun possibly be going for a direct breakthrough to foundation establishment? Ling Zixiao looked at the situation unfolding before her and said with a light smile. Likely not, judging from this turbulence, it's not enough for a breakthrough to foundation establishment. Lu Changxing shook his head and said. The current activity, although not minor, was still far from the level required for a foundation establishment breakthrough. it was simply not comparable. Another day passed, and Lu Miao's cultivation level broke through from the 8th level energy refinement to the 9th level energy refinement. After breaking through to the 9th level energy refinement, the spiritual mechanisms emanating from the luminous treasure tree and the spiritual energy of nature continued, but the movements gradually diminished. Husband, Sister Zishao. A day later, Lu Miaoyun opened her eyes and, filled with joy, looked at Lu Changxing and Ling Zishao before her. Her face appeared much younger at this moment, and she exuded vitality from head to toe, giving a sense of vibrancy. Congratulations to my Miaoyun on mastering the heaven and earth longevity technique, a promising future on the path of immortality. A smile spread across Lu Changsheng's face as he congratulated his wife. Usually, Lu Miaoyun and others would be the ones offering congratulations to her. It was rare for her to congratulate her wife. Congratulations, Miaoyun. Ling Zixiao also said with a beaming smile while taking a closer look at Lu Miao's condition. When Lu Miaoga had her foundation establishment breakthrough, both her appearance and temperament underwent a dramatic change as if she was reborn. Lu Miaoyun was no exception at this moment. Not only did she look much younger, but she also seemed like a precious tree of verdant greenery, making the air around her feel all the fresher. Thank you, husband, and thank you, Sister Zishao. If it weren't for my husband and Sister Zishao, how could I have perfected this technique? Lu Miaoyun said this while looking at Lu Changxing, her eyes filled with tenderness and affection. Without Lu Changxing, she would have found it difficult to cultivate to the 9th level energy refinement in her lifetime. But now, under Lu Changxing's arrangement, she cultivated the heaven and earth longevity technique, refining the luminous treasure tree into her life-bound spiritual root, and directly breaking through to the 9th level energy refinement. Moreover, she could clearly sense that she and the luminous treasure tree were perfectly integrated. With the passage of time and the changing of seasons, as the luminous treasure tree grew, the origin of plants and trees would continuously enter her body, as if she herself were cultivating. Now, foundation establishment was only a matter of time for her. Yuner, after you practice this technique, do you feel any changes? Lu Changxing asked Lu Miaoyun. The heaven and earth longevity technique was the only top-tier technique in the family that was learned from outside, so his understanding of it was limited. I feel like I've formed a profound connection with the luminous treasure tree, merging into one entity, and able to slightly control the tree, she replied. However, once I move away from the tree, the connection between us gradually weakens and eventually breaks, resulting in the failure of the technique, she continued. Moreover, the spiritual power inside me has transformed from the original Greenwood art, now completely into the botanical force of the heaven and earth longevity technique. Lu Miaoyun began to describe her current state, indicating that after perfecting the heaven and earth longevity technique, her lifespan had noticeably increased. However, due to the conversion of her spiritual power into the botanical force of the heaven and earth longevity technique, her spiritual strength had weakened considerably, primarily geared towards nurturing. It was difficult to increase her cultivation realm through elixir medicines. It could only be gradually raised through the growth of the luminous treasure tree. The advantage of this spiritual power was its ability to preserve her looks, beautify, and nourish both her physical body and soul. Even as she aged, her body would remain vigorous and her condition would not significantly decline. Additionally, she gained insight into how to cultivate the luminous treasure tree so that it would grow as quickly as possible. And she could spend her origin source to make the luminous treasure tree quickly condense the luminous sweet dew, without having to wait for the 30-year growth cycle. It's good that there are no side effects, Lu Changxing remarked. As for the luminous sweet dew, if you have time, Yuner, you could try to accelerate its formation and see how effective it is. Chapter 753, The Effect of the Heavenly Longevity Technique, Heading to the White Jade Tower. Lu Changxing smiled as he spoke. The only thing he was worried about was the Heavenly Longevity Technique. Besides the few issues mentioned above, there might be other side effects. Okay, Lu Miaoyun nodded gently in agreement. Let's go. To celebrate Yuner's successful cultivation of the Heavenly Longevity Technique, we should celebrate properly. Lu Changxing stepped forward, took his wife's hand and laughed. Then he returned to Bai Yun Peak and instructed a family banquet to be held in celebration of Lu Miaoyun. Although the wives and children at home didn't know what was happening, many sensed the earlier situation at Lingzue Cliff. Seeing the changes in Lu Miaoyun's appearance and temperament, everyone guessed and congratulated her aloud. Lu Miaohuan and Chu Jinjin were aware of the situation concerning the Heavenly Longevity Technique. Seeing the changes in Lu Miao's appearance and temperament, a touch of envy inevitably showed deep in their eyes. Although they didn't have much desire to pursue foundation establishment as women, they all had a love for beauty. Moreover, the effects described by the heavenly longevity technique were tantalizing. The notion of automatic cultivation was undoubtedly tempting. Lu Changxing keenly sensed this, sighing slightly in his heart. Now, if anyone in the family wanted to continue practicing the heavenly longevity technique, new spirit plants were needed from heaven and earth, and the spirit vein under Bai Shui Lake had to advance to second rank. Otherwise it would be difficult to afford the consumption. The parasitic spirit plants nurtured by Mount Sumeru should be able to grow directly from Mount Sumeru, right? Lu Changxing pondered. However, nurturing a parasitic spirit plant would consume a large amount of Mount Sumeru's vitality, something he was reluctant to do for the time being. Late at night. Afterwards. Lu Changxing hugged the plump and fair-skinned Lu Miaoyun, covered in glistening sweat, a hint of astonishment in his eyes. He found that after dual cultivating with Lu Miaoyun, his clarity of mind and vision slightly improved. Although the sensation was weak and hard to detect, this wasn't their first time dual cultivating, so he was particularly sensitive to it. It made him think of the effects of the luminous sweet dew condensed by the luminous treasure tree. Applying the luminous sweet dew on the eyes could sharpen one's vision, enhancing spiritual eye-related techniques and divine skills. Husband, what's wrong? Lu Miaoyun lazily lay in Lu Changxing's arms, her bewitching eyes soft, her cheeks flushed, and she asked in a gentle voice. Just now, I felt as if I experienced a slight improvement in mental clarity and vision, Lu Changxing said softly. Then he pinned his wife beneath him again, ready to repeat the process several times, to determine if it was an illusion. Accompanied by soft moans after several rounds of exertion, Lu Changxing was sure it was not an illusion. Indeed, after dual cultivating with Lu Miaoyun, there was a slight effect on mental clarity and vision. However, this boost was almost negligible for him, and it would probably take many years to see a noticeable effect. Lu Changxing didn't mind this and treated it as a little extra spice to their intimate moments. Half a month later. Sister Miaoga, this is your Tai True water bottle. From now on you can temper it with your own mana and sculpt it, Lu Changxing said. That day Lu Miaoga came back and used Tai True water to nourish Ling Zixio's meridians and dantian. Lu Changxing took out a bottle that appeared to be carved from mutton fat jade. It was the prototype of the Tai True water bottle. Thank you, husband. Seeing this, Lu Miaoga took the Tai True water bottle, her beautiful eyes shining with joy. Though the bottle had no offensive capabilities, it was effective for defense, breaking spells, protection, and storing Tai True water. Ordinary vessels couldn't store the Tai True water she condensed. But with the Tai True water bottle she could store and even refine it. This was also the reason she chose to first refine the Tai True water bottle, rather than a Tai Chi talisman. Lu Changxing looked at the elegant and extraordinarily beautiful Lu Miaoga in front of him, dressed in a white gown purer than snow, her demeanor otherworldly with a transcendent aura, and he stroked his chin. Changxing, what is it? Lu Miaoga, seeing Lu Changxing suddenly scrutinize her like that, was somewhat puzzled. Sister Miaoga, stay here and don't move. Wait for me, Lu Changxing said before stepping out of the Mount Sumeru space, leaving the perplexed Lu Miaoga and Ling Zixiao behind. Shortly after, Lu Changxing returned to Changxing Hall, holding a branch shining like gold and jade. The branch was decorated with vibrant, emerald green leaves, full of life. Under the astonished gaze of both women, Lu Changxing placed the branch he had picked from the Mount Sumeru Tree King into Lu Miaoga's Tai True water bottle and then nodded in satisfaction. Changxing, what are you doing? Lu Miaoga was clueless why Lu Changxing put a branch into her Tai True water bottle. Sister Miaoga, this is a branch from Mount Sumeru. It has calming and spirit-cleansing effects, which will be beneficial for you to keep close for a long time, Lu Changxing said with a smile. Moreover, by storing Tai True water in the bottle, you can also nourish this branch, which will be helpful for you. He had suddenly decided to give Lu Miaoga a branch to add to her jade bottle simply because he saw his wife in a pure white robe, her aura sacred, carrying a clear jade bottle, which reminded him of a character from his previous life. He thought it would be nicer to add something to the bottle. As it turned out, the addition of the branch did indeed lend a divine touch to the jade bottle in Lu Miaoga's hand. If there was anything missing, it was indeed a cinnabar mole. If a cinnabar mole was added to Lu Miaoga's brow, combined with her holy disposition that seemed to embrace all things, it would be even more provocative. Okay, Lu Miaoge didn't overthink it, assuming it was a thoughtful gesture from Lu Changxing, and happily agreed with a tone of indulgence. However, Ling Zixiao detected a bit of oddity, though she didn't express it. After all, with the addition of the branch to the bottle, it indeed looked far more colorful and attractive. Before long, another month had passed. During this month, Lu Changsheng's concubine became pregnant, bringing the total number of his children to 170. There were a total of 108 maids for auction, each with their appearance, situation information, and starting bid price. Number 1, 27 years old, 8th level energy refinement, 3rd grade spiritual root, starting bid 10 superior grade spirit stones. Number 2, 32 years old, 9th level energy refinement, 3rd grade spiritual root, starting bid 10 superior grade spirit stones. Number 3, 41 years old, 9th level energy refinement, 3rd grade spiritual root, starting bid 10 superior grade spirit stones. Indeed worthy of the White Jade Tower, such moves to actually have 3 with superior grade spiritual roots, Lu Changxing commented as he roughly looked over the information on the auction list. Through their names one could quickly check their appearance. He took a brief look at these 3 individuals, not to say they were national beauties, but they were certainly of high caliber. After all, most wouldn't be too ugly after entering cultivation. Furthermore, all were trained by the White Jade Tower. Even if originally of average looks, they would be taught beautifying and rejuvenating cultivation techniques. Although he was quite tempted by such prospects, he didn't really have the intention to bid. Too expensive. The starting bid alone was 10 superior grade spirit stones, which is to say 100,000 lower grade spirit stones. This price had already far exceeded his current spending capacity. Even though his business of selling symbols and refining elixirs was highly profitable, he still had limited financial resources when facing this kind of expenditure. And this was just the starting price. Compared to superior grade spiritual roots, the price of 4th grade spiritual roots dropped to a much more affordable level. The cheapest starting bid was only 30,000 spirit stones. The highest starting bid was just 50,000 spirit stones, which was half the price of 3rd grade spiritual roots. Then, for 5th grade spiritual roots, the price was halved again with a starting bid between 10,000 and 20,000. The starting bids for 6th grade spiritual roots ranged from 5,000 to 10,000. Inside there were many more maids with lower grade spiritual roots. Those who could enter the auction with lower grade spiritual roots were either top choices in looks and figure or had exceptional talents in some areas. Therefore, even the cheapest with 9th grade spiritual roots had a starting price of 1,000 spirit stones. After roughly reviewing, Lu Changxing inquired about the usual closing prices for these auctions in previous years. The administrator told him that for lower grade spiritual roots, the competition wasn't too fierce. Bids generally went 20% higher than the base price, and one was likely to win the bid. Competition for a few with superior grade spiritual roots was much fiercer. Because these served as the highlight of the White Jade Tower's auctions, many people competed for them. As to why the competition was so fierce, the administrator named Xia didn't delve into details. But Lu Changxing had a rough idea. Geniuses with superior grade spiritual roots were very useful. Besides the most common uses as furnaces or breeding, there were more brutal methods. Such as cultivating corpses or after raising them, using some demon path methods to seize their spiritual roots, or even waiting until they established a foundation to snatch their Tao foundation. After all, with superior grade spiritual roots, as long as one is willing to invest time, with a bit of cultivation, establishing a foundation is highly likely. Save whoever I can, Lu Changxing sighed. Looking into the eyes of these women, which shone with no glimmer of hope, he knew what they had endured. Most of them were ill-fated. Even after so many years in the cultivation world, he still hadn't changed his soft-hearted nature. Calculating the spirit stones he had available for discretionary spending, Lu Changxing finally set a budget of 50,000 spirit stones for himself. Because any more than that and he would have to sell too many spirit stones and elixirs. Immediately, Lu Changxing placed bids on 3 5th grade spiritual roots and 1 6th grade spiritual root. All were relatively low-priced, but he marked them up by about 40%. To ensure a significant chance of acquiring them, he just managed to spend the 50,000 spirit stones. For the current auction, deposits had to be paid up front, and it would be a month before the secret bidding came to an end and notifications would be sent out. Hearing this, Lu Changxing didn't wait in the Nine Dragons market. After paying the deposits, he returned to Bai Lake Mountain, because this year marked the Liu family's annual Grand Assembly. And this year he planned to finalize the position of the family head at the Grand Assembly and start sending some of his children to manage the businesses outside the family. Chapter 755. Heaven-ranked demon plant, abyssal ghoul blossom. _1 Bai Lake Mountain. Liu Family Mansion, Council Hall. At present, the family has 316 members, 3 foundation establishment cultivators, 4 at the energy refinement late stage, 34 at the energy refinement middle stage, 16 at the energy refinement initial stage. Liu Changxing sat in the main seat, listening calmly to his wife Liu Miao's summary. Unconsciously, the number of members in his Liu family had already surpassed 300. Moreover, out of the 316 family members, there were 57 cultivators. This ratio was truly astonishing. The reason there were so many cultivators, particularly in the qi refinement middle stage, was entirely because his 21 wives and concubines were all at this cultivation level. As for the children, 13 had currently broken through to the qi refinement middle stage, and 16 were at the qi refinement initial stage. This year's income totaled 31,143, expenditures totaled 35,665, with family stipends accounting for 70% of the expenses, Liu Miaoyun continued to report. Inside the hall, everyone felt somewhat heavy-hearted upon hearing that there was a deficit once again without a profit. After all, for more than 4 years, Bai Lake Mountain had remained in a state of loss without reversing the situation to a profit. The main reason for the losses, the major expenses, was something all those present were well aware of. Liu Changxing himself felt rather unconcerned by this, thinking that to have such a result over 4 years wasn't too bad. After all, in his view, expenditures on starting a family and having children were essential, and in the long run they were definitely profitable. However, these family expenses did not take into account the costs of the Divine Wood Great Formation, the Oceanic Formation, training Dao soldiers and so on. Otherwise, the expenses would be even more exaggerated. There has been improvement in the income compared to last year, aiming to break even next year. Liu Changxing chuckled, tapped the table and said, "Next, I have 2 matters to discuss. For the past few years, our family has been in a semi-secluded state which made many businesses inconvenient to manage. Therefore, starting from this year, Liu family disciples who reach the age of 18 and break through to the 4th level energy refinement can apply to go out and manage business ventures." Liu Changxing looked toward his wives and children and said aloud, "Apply to go out and manage business ventures?" Some of the Liu family disciples exchanged glances, their eyes shining with joy. Although no one complained during the 4 years of seclusion, some Liu family disciples still had some discontent in their hearts. After all, at their age they were in the prime of their life, full of yearning for the outside world and naturally wanted to explore more. Not to mention traveling and gaining experience. Growing up in Qingzhou Mountain and Bai Lake Mountain with many rules and constraints at home, they would feel bored and long for the outside world. Moreover, many wives and children realized that this was another opportunity to perform well after hearing these words. As for going out for practice, one must reach the 6th level energy refinement to apply. Liu Changxing continued. Liu Chuanzhen had previously expressed the desire to venture out for practice, and certainly he wasn't the only one with such thoughts. Therefore he also directly set the rule, fixing the cultivation level at the 6th level energy refinement. For the children in the family at present, this level was neither high nor low, generally around 25 years old, and they also had a certain level of experience. Finally, it is about the matter of the family head. Liu Changxing looked down at his children and said aloud. Currently, the family affairs were divided finely, with everyone having specific duties, and Liu Miaoyun generally coordinated the handling of trivial matters. Some major decisions, on the other hand, were made by him and Ling Zixiao. But now that the family had decided to open the mountain gate, whether it was dealing with family trifles or business, or interacting with other families, there needed to be one person, that is, the patriarch of the Liu family. The family head? Upon hearing these words, many concubines and children looked surprised and exchanged glances, turning their eyes to Liu Pinggan, Liu Chuanzhen and Liu Yun. Although the Liu family did not emphasize too much the difference between legitimate and illegitimate children, still, in the eyes of many concubines and children, there was a distinction. After all, although Liu Changxing treated all his children equally in terms of welfare and treatment in everyday life, he still had obvious favorites. Liu Pinggan, Liu Chuanzhen and Liu Yun were born to his first wife, and being relatively older they were favored by Lu Changxing, so most people guessed that the choice of family head would be from among them. Now, our Lu family's first family head will be Lu Yun. Lu Changxing did not hold a vote but directly looked at his son Lu Yun and spoke. The choice of Lu Yun was partly because his sons Lu Pinggan and Lu Chuanjun had no intention of taking on the role of family head. Another reason was capability. Lu Yun, despite lacking decisiveness and boldness, performed well under the guidance of Lu Miaoyun. As family head, with the help of his mother Lu Miaoyun in the early stages, he would at least not create any problems. Besides, this son did have his strong points. At least diligent and obedient, he was a role model in terms of marrying and having children. He already had a wife, 3 concubines and 3 children to his name, although he could not compare with his own father. But amongst his children with spiritual roots, he was doing quite well. Thank you, father. Your son will definitely not fail your expectations, nor those of everyone. Upon hearing this, Lu Yun took a deep breath and got up, bowing with excitement and nervousness. Although the role of family head in a cultivation family differed from that in the secular world. Becoming family head was equivalent to almost giving up on the path to immortality, as much time had to be spent on daily trivial matters, with little hope of reaching foundation establishment. However, the status and power of the family head were undeniable. Congratulations, Brother Yun. Congratulations, Yunji. Greetings to the family head. Some immediately congratulated Lu Yun. Perform well. The position of the family head is a 5-year term, serving a maximum of 4 terms. I will judge based on the performance of each term, rewarding good service abundantly and allowing continuation in the position. If not done well, then the person will be replaced. Understand? Chapter 756, Heaven-Ranked Demon Plant, Abyssal Ghoul Blossom. Lu Changxing spoke out. He chose Lu Yun to be the family head not only because of Lu Miaoyun's role but also due to the limited selection of sons and daughters currently available in the family. If Lu Yun truly lacked the capacity and was unsuitable, he would replace him all the same, picking someone else from among the children. After all, in his eyes, there really was no significant distinction between legitimacy and illegitimacy when it came to the position of family head. Capability was the main criterion. Yes, father. Lu Yun took a deep breath and nodded in agreement. He had long been aware of these matters, having been forewarned by his mother, Lu Miaoyun, and was mentally prepared. This family clan meeting is now concluded. If you have any other matters you can come directly to me, Lu Changxing announced, looking at his wives and children. Yes, husband, father. Everyone in the hall stood up and respectfully replied. Immediately after, Lu Changxing left the hall with a few of his wives. With the family clan meeting over, By Lake Mountain was bustling with activity. During this time, Lu Changxing also spent time with his wives and children, discussing arrangements for sending out the family youths. After all, when sending out the children, priority was given to picking marketplaces like Red Leaf Valley Market and Nine Dragons Market, which were close to By Lake Mountain. Besides that, he had Honglian craft identity tokens for the family. This allowed all Lu family disciples to sense each other's presence through the jade tokens, communicate, call for help, verify identities, and so on when they were outside. Moreover, during this period he spent even more time nurturing the 3rd-rank treasure talismans prepared for his children. Young master, how do you like this design? That day, Su Rian handed Lu Changxing the crafted identity token. The token was roughly the width of 3 fingers, made like gleaming gold and jade, with hints of emerald green at the edges. One side bore a depiction of mountain and sea scenery, while on the other side, there was a Lu character, extravagant yet with a touch of simplicity. This token could sense the presence of others within 100 miles and enable simple communication over 1,000 miles. If Lu Changxing wished, he could use the infinite pursuit technique learned from Honglian to locate the position of the tokens. Not bad. Just make a distinguishing mark on each token for simple identification, Lu Changxing said after examining it for a moment, instructing Honglian to make a simple mark on the side with the Lu character and deciding thus. 13 youths of the family met the qualifications to venture out, but currently only 6 had applied to do so, so he wasn't in a hurry about crafting the tokens. Given Honglian's pace of crafting one every 3 to 5 days, that was more than enough. Once he had roughly arranged and dealt with family matters, Lu Changxing remembered that the auction at White Jade Tower was nearly concluded. He then took a trip outside, heading for the White Jade Tower in Nine Dragons Market. Young Master Yi, please come inside. The 4 maids you put up for auction at our White Jade Tower, except for number 66 which failed to sell, numbers 69, 77 and 98 were all successfully auctioned. Do you confirm this, young Master Yi? The manager of White Jade Tower eagerly said upon seeing Lu Changxing. In Nine Dragons Market, anyone who could spend nearly 50,000 spirit stones on maids was undoubtedly a major client, so he was treated with great enthusiasm. Number 66 failed, At this, Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow but didn't seem overly concerned. He promptly paid the balance for the remaining 3 maids. Since the 3 maids were to be transported from other locations by White Jade Tower, that would require more than a month. Lu Changxing made the necessary arrangements and left, indicating that he would come to pick them up when the time came and there was no need for them to be delivered to his home. In the blink of an eye, over a month passed. These are the life-saving talismans I've crafted for you. Dab a drop of blood from your forehead and essence blood on it. If you encounter a life-threatening crisis, you can activate the talisman to escape, Lu Changxing said with a stern expression, looking at his children arrayed before him. Remember, the matter of this talisman must not be disclosed to anyone else, understand? The talisman he referred to was known as a substitute talisman, ranked as a lower 3rd rank item. Its effect was somewhat similar to his life-substituting talisman. It was connected to one's essence, blood and soul, forming a substitute puppet to take one's place in danger, and then transporting the user 1,000 miles away. However, its effectiveness was far inferior to the life-substituting talisman, withstanding only 1 blow from core formation at most. And unlike the life-substituting talisman, it could not guard against certain inescapable and deadly tactics. Nevertheless, it was more than enough for these children who were going to the marketplaces to handle business. Unless they ran into some formidable robber cultivators, it was unlikely they would need to use these talismans. Yes, father. They were seeing their father's stern demeanor for the first time. Realizing the gravity of the situation, they didn't dare to take it lightly and swore oaths of the heart demon. Later, holding the talismans traced with mysterious toad script that resembled purple dragon scales in their hands, they each looked overjoyed. Chapter 757, Heaven-Ranked Demon Plant, Abyssal Ghoul Blossom. After spending so much time together, he naturally couldn't resist and plucked Su Rian this fruit. Perhaps it was his daily training or the brainwashing by Ling Zixiao, that Su Rian gradually resigned herself to her fate and offered herself willingly during one of their tender moments after a night of drinking with Ling Zixiao. Faced with such a situation, Lu Changxing certainly didn't pretend to be an upright gentleman. In the days that followed, Su Rian essentially became like a chambermaid for Ling Zixiao, helping out and making Lu Changxing comfortable and carefree. And during ordinary days, some of the pastimes that Lu Changxing couldn't enjoy with his wife, he could now have Su Rian comply with. Like. Su Rian, forced to grasp the branches of Mount Sumeru, kept her beautiful eyes tightly shut, her fiery red hair dancing wildly, uttering stuttering sounds from her mouth. From this height, they could still see the fishermen on Bai Shui Lake and some loose cultivator apprentices practicing on Lake Heart Island. Do you think they can see us? Or are they wondering what we're doing here? Lu Changxing, looking out over the vast expanse of Bai Shui Lake, his hand roaming on smooth skin, spoke softly. Although Su Rian knew that with the inverted 5 elements formation in place, no one could see them, her starry eyes fluttering open and closed, looking down at the scene below, she still felt her whole body tense up, a thrilling sensation rising from deep within her. Eventually, under a crisp sound, Su Rian whimpered, moans bursting forth, her body going limp with a cry, hands hanging powerlessly. Seeing this, Lu Changxing thought that although Su Rian had reached the 9th level of energy refinement, her body was still somewhat frail. After slapping her jade buttocks, he embraced her delicate body and switched positions to continue. Just then, a system notification sound echoed. Congratulations to the host. 30 offspring have completed the process of drawing qi into their bodies and stepping onto the path of immortality, receiving the bloodline effect. A 5% increase in the likelihood of offspring having a spiritual root and a chance for a lucky draw. HM? 30 already? When Lu Changxing heard the system notification, he paused for a moment. He had suspected as much when there was no notification at 25. Pleased with the system granting child money, Lu Changxing's mood elevated. He firmly grasped Su Rian's graceful waist, driving deep with fervor, venting his pleasure. The beautiful woman shivered, trembling, her defenses scattered in disarray, a gushing spring of surrender. It wasn't until the sun was high in the sky that Lu Changxing let Su Rian go to rest, and he himself went to the talisman room to start the lucky draw. System lucky draw. Lu Changxing mentally called out. Instantly, a pale red prize wheel emerged bathed in golden light, beginning to spin for the draw, eventually coming to a stop on the pet section. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a spiritual pet, Abyssal Ghoul Blossom. Reward has been delivered to the system space. Host can check at any time. An image of a sinister black flower with a blood-red aura emerged from the prize wheel, accompanied by a system notification sound. Abyssal Ghoul Blossom, a demonic plant? Lu Changxing's eyes lit up upon seeing this reward. Although he wasn't much interested in pets, the exception was definitely plant-based spiritual pets. Indeed, through the Mount Sumeru Tree King, he knew that this kind of demonic plant could also be used to cultivate the heaven and earth longevity technique. Right away Lu Changxing looked into the system space. Demon Beast, Abyssal Ghoul Blossom. Rank, Heaven rank upper grade. Description, evolved from the soul of a 5th rank great demon from the netherworlds, born from the nourishment of countless beings' fresh blood, feeds on flesh, souls, and possesses a prison within its belly capable of imprisoning beings, currently has the strength of 2nd rank. His, Heaven rank upper grade? And it has 2nd rank strength? Seeing the rank and description of the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom before him, Lu Changxing couldn't hide his elation. Both the rank and the strength made him feel that the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom was quite a catch. If there were any problem, it would be that it looked somewhat sinister. Birthed by the nourishment of living blood, it feeds on flesh and souls. Doesn't this mean that this demonic flower doesn't require a spirit vein spiritual energy and would do just fine with enough flesh and blood? If that's the case, planting this Abyssal Ghoul Blossom wouldn't add too much pressure to the current situation of by Lake Mountain. I just don't know if this demonic flower can be used to cultivate the heaven and earth longevity technique. Lu Changxing saw the demonic plant in the system space and murmured to himself. He planned to give this demonic plant to Lu Miaohuan or Chu Jinjin to cultivate the heaven and earth longevity technique. Through Lu Miaohuan's cultivation of the heaven and earth longevity technique, he knew that after refining a heavenly spirit plant into one's life-bound spiritual root, other than a certain degree of influence on the plant's growth, there would not be any other significant problems. And as a demonic plant with a heavenly grade bloodline, the Abyssal Ghoul Blossom would certainly meet the requirements for cultivating the heaven and earth longevity technique. If used for cultivation, the effects might be even better than the luminous treasure tree. However, this Abyssal Ghoul Blossom might be more suitable for Huan Huan? Lu Changxing stroked his chin. Both the appearance and the description of this Abyssal Ghoul Blossom resembled a demon. Given Chu Zenshin's disposition, she would probably be frightened just by looking at it, let alone dare to feed it with flesh and blood. Although Lu Miaohuan might not necessarily like it either, it would clearly be much better compared to Chu Jinjin, and she probably wouldn't mind that aspect too much. If I could let Mount Sumeru induce the birth of a companion spirit plant, then both Huan Huan and Zenshin's plants would be taken care of. Lu Changxing let out a long sigh. He planned to pick a time to plant this Abyssal Ghoul Blossom, and let Lu Miaohuan and Chu Jinjin have a look. Half a month later, Lu Changxing arrived at the Nine Dragons marketplace. About 3 months had passed, and his 3 maids had already been delivered. Lu Changxing looked at the 3 maids in front of him. Similar to the original Xiao Yuyao and Xiao Yueru, the 3 of them had fine appearances and figures, but their eyes were dull, filled with numbness. The only difference was that among these 3, 2 of the women had 5th grade spiritual roots, and 1 had a 6th grade spiritual root. 5th grade spiritual root? Lu Changxing felt quite emotional in his heart. He still remembered his first visit to White Jade Tower, where he could only afford a maid with a 9th grade spiritual root. At that time, middle grade spiritual roots seemed unattainably high for him. But after years of hard work and struggle, women with middle grade spiritual roots became just a substantial expenditure for him. There were even female cultivators with middle grade spiritual roots who took the initiative to come to his door and offer themselves. Wealth, companions, law and land, no wonder wealth comes first. TSK, money really can make a ghost push a millstone. After a slight moment of emotion, Lu Changxing expressed no issues and took the 3 back to Bai Lake Mountain. During this time, the steward Xia also upgraded his membership for Lu Changxing. He indicated that with a higher membership level, the future auction would grant access to maids in greater quantities and of better quality. This surprised Lu Changxing as he hadn't expected the auctions to have different levels. He then asked Steward Xia about the prices fetched by the recent top-grade spiritual roots. The other party didn't hide anything, indicating that number 1 fetched a price of 150,000, while number 2 fetched 160,000 spirit stones, astonishing Lu Changxing. It seemed there were more wealthy people than he imagined, but with such financial power, they were definitely not mere foundation establishment cultivators, but surely nascent soul immortals. Chapter 758, Top Grade Spiritual Root, Spiritual Origin Pearl. _1 time flew by and 3 months had passed. In these 3 months, Lu Changxing did take care of the 3 new maids he had bought, but only one of them became pregnant. It wasn't that there was a problem, but rather that he had been busy. Moreover, with so many concubines already at home, Lu Changxing was not in a rush for them to conceive immediately. One day Lu Changxing felt a surge of mana abruptly enter his body. He knew that one of his children had advanced in their cultivation realm. Nowadays, as his children gradually began their cultivation, almost every few months or half a year, he could sense this enhancement. But whether it was the Qi refinement cultivation level or the martial realm, in terms of adding to his current strength, it was far too insignificant. Unless it was a quantitative change, otherwise only when his children broke through foundation establishment would he experience a significant improvement, enabling him to directly break through his own realm. Father. 3 days later, his son Lu Chuanjin saw Lu Changxing and immediately reported that he had broken through to the 6th level of Qi refinement. Qi refinement 6th level. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing knew that Lu Chuanjin was hinting at wanting to go out for an experience. Although for such matters one could directly report to Lu Yun and Lu Miaoyun. But it was clear he couldn't get past his mother Chu Jinjin, thus he came to have his father speak on his behalf. Sai, go ahead then. Lu Changxing also felt somewhat troubled. Once he agreed to his son's request, he naturally would not go back on his word. Moreover, in his heart he too wished for his children to travel more. In the cultivation world, except for those with exceptional talents, without experiencing storms, even with a foundation establishment elixir, foundation establishment would not be easy to achieve. The two of them went to Chu Zenshin's courtyard. Adventuring, how dangerous it is outside. Chu Zenshin's smile turned into concern upon hearing the reason for their visit. She looked at Lu Chuanjin and fretted, Chuanjin, if you want to go out, you could go to Red Leaf Valley Market, your mother isn't stopping you, but the outside world is so chaotic, so dangerous. Husband? Chu Jinjin then looked at Lu Changxing, knowing he must have come to advocate on their son's behalf. After all, she had approached Lu Changxing several times about Lu Quanzhen's situation, but it was clear that as a father, he was partial to his son. Don't go off for years, remember to come back every year. And make sure to keep the talisman and puppet your father gave you safe, don't go seeking danger just because you have them. Chu Jinjin, saddened and reluctant, pulled her son aside, softly speaking with teary eyes. A mother's worry spans 1,000 li when her child travels afar. Especially in the cultivation world, which had always seemed chaotic and dangerous to Chu Jinjin, she was very concerned about her son going out alone. Mother, rest assured your child understands. Lu Chuanjin, with a handsome and earnest face, affirmed. He then smeared his brow's blood and vital blood on the substitute talisman. The talisman transformed into a beam of spiritual light, entering the center of his forehead. Chu Jinjin also felt somewhat relieved at this sight. She might not know much, but she was aware that her husband was very capable and would not shortchange their child. After letting Lu Chuanjin accept the second-rank puppet, Lu Changxing chatted with his wife and son for a while and then departed. However, as he left the courtyard, Lu Chuanjin sent a message saying he did not need the second-rank puppet and there was no need for such an expense on his father's part. Keep it, it's embedded with 10 middle-grade spirit stones. It can last up against an early foundation establishment for nearly 10 exchanges, so when you encounter one, do not clash head-on. Chapter 759, Top-Grade Spiritual Root, Spiritual Origin Pearl. Lu Changxing waved his hand and said to his son, not paying much attention to the puppet. He had previously created 3 second-rank puppets. One for Ling Zixiao, one for Lu Miaoyan and one for Lu Miaoga. A long time ago he also gave one to Lu Miaohuan. But because of Chu Zenshin's personality, who usually disliked going out and was not good at fighting, he hadn't given one to her. Now this puppet could be considered Chu Zenshin's share. My child thanks you, father. Lu Chuanjin took a deep breath and bowed his thanks. He felt that the riches of his family's father might surpass what he and his siblings could imagine. 2 months later. Inside the Changxing Hall. Lu Changxing was in the middle of refining a Tai Chi talisman. Suddenly, a mysterious fluctuation came through. Lu Changxing was naturally familiar with this fluctuation. With his spiritual root promoted to 2nd grade, the improvement of his wife's spiritual root's quality, favorable breeding, as well as the system's bloodline enhancement, his previous 6 children, 4 of whom had spiritual roots, and 2 had 5th grade spiritual roots, and 2 had 6th grade spiritual roots. However, this child's spiritual root fluctuation was much stronger than that of the other 4 children. This is a superior spiritual root. A 3rd grade spiritual root. Lu Changxing's eyes revealed a look of joy. Except for his daughter Nangong Yaoyao, who he had not yet met, there wasn't a superior spiritual root in his family. In the cultivation world, a superior spiritual root could increase the successful breakthrough rate of foundation establishment by 30 to 50%. If there was a foundation establishment elixir or foundation establishment spirit object, one would surely be able to break through foundation establishment, with hopes for core formation in the future. System. Lu Changxing mentally called, opening his system panel. So, the birth of a child in the family usually depended on whether he remembered it or not. Although it was the same whether Lu Changxing attended or not, they all still hoped that Lu Changxing would come and see them. Zizhu, you've worked hard. Lu Changxing, feeling somewhat embarrassed, sat beside the bed and spoke softly. With more and more children, and tasks that could easily take at least 10 days to half a month, his attention to the birth of his children had gradually decreased. Husband, it was not hard at all. Xia Zizhu spoke softly, showing her newborn baby to Lu Changxing. Hee, this child, let's name him Xingqian. Lu Changxing took the child, looked at his clear, distinctly black and white eyes, and said with a chuckle. 3rd grade spiritual root, this son will also be one of the pillars of the Lu family. Xingqian, Lu Xingqian. Xia Zizhu, hearing this, showed a gentle smile and called out to the baby. Zizhu, you rest well. After chatting with Xia Zizhu for a while, Lu Changxing spoke warmly. Even though she had the 7th level energy refinement cultivation because of her spirit-nurturing physique, giving birth always depleted her vital energy. She needed to rest much longer than the average cultivator. After reassuring Xia Zizhu, Lu Changxing joined his wives and concubines in the mansion for a casual chat, asking about the family's well-being. Daddy, are you busy? Just then his daughter Lu Wangshu ran over, calling out to Lu Changxing with a cheerful face. What's the matter? Lu Changxing tousled his daughter's hair bun and asked with a smile. His daughter, Lu Wangshu, was now 9 years old, and he planned to awaken her blood talisman spiritual body within the next year. Daddy, can you make me some candy beans to eat? Lu Wangshu pulled out an empty little bottle, tipped it over on the ground a couple of times, and spoke in a soft, adorable voice. "3 months ago, the Ji-surnamed man had approached the Lu family, saying he had a spiritual origin pearl. But he was unwilling to trade with spirit stones and wanted Lu Changxing to draw 10 second-tier supreme talismans, plus 10,000 spirit stones. Facing such a request, Lu Changxing naturally agreed, and thus the transaction had occurred. However, this fellow Ji doesn't seem like a very good person, I'm afraid. Lu Changxing thought about the effects of these talismans and inwardly speculated. The 10 talismans were suitable for exploring cave dwellings and secret realms, but equally they were also suitable for murder and plunder. But he did not pay it any mind, and after checking that there were no issues with the spiritual origin pearl, he placed it into his storage bag. Changxing, the family is arranging for Muping to undergo foundation establishment. But both Qingzhou Mountain and Red Leaf Valley Market would draw too much attention and be noticed, so I'm planning to send Muping to either the Qingyun Market or the Immortal City to establish her foundation. That day Lu Yuanzhong came to Red Leaf Valley Market and spoke to Lu Changxing. Let's go with the Qingyun Market. I know the fairy Shiyu from the Qingyun sect. I can rent a decent cave dwelling for her through her in Qingyun Market. And this time, he'll take Mu Ping over myself. It's better for uncle to hold the fort at home. Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing pondered for a moment before speaking. There's a saying, if you're going to do a good deed, do it well. If you're going to send Buddha, send him all the way to the west. Letting Lu Yuanzhong take Lu Muping out for foundation establishment may expose them to danger along the way. After all, Lu Muping's foundation establishment concerns not just Qingzhou Mountain but also Lu Miaoga. He didn't want any accidents to happen at this stage. Now that Bai Lake Mountain has Ling Zixiao and Mount Sumeru as guardians, he felt free to go out himself. So he thought, why not make the trip himself? That way there shouldn't be any problems. Since that's the case, Changxing, he'll have to trouble you with this matter. When Lu Yuanzhong heard this, joy immediately spread across his face. Having a superb cave dwelling can indeed help with breaking through to Foundation establishment. And with Lu Changxing personally accompanying him, there was no fear of any mishaps on the road. Uncle, you're being too polite. Have Mu Ping come to Bai Lake Mountain to find me in a month, Lu Changxing said with a smile. Afterward, he informed Lu Miaoge about it and then returned to Bai Lake Mountain to give the spiritual origin pearl to Ling Zixiao. He asked her to use the pearl to set up an array to upgrade the spirit vein on Baiyun Peak. The spirit vein of Baiyun Peak was a middle grade of the second rank, and it was just one step away from advancing to the upper grade of the second rank. The four women only appeared for a moment before walking straight into one of the second floor's private boxes, restoring tranquility to the venue. A short while later the auction began. The auction, held once every 10 years, started with items of the Qi refinement realm level. Compared to other items, these were relatively rare and uncommon materials. Lu Changxing had no interest in these items and did not bid. When it came to the middle of the auction, items suitable for Foundation establishment started to appear. During the process, Lu Changxing bid for and won a water-type turtle demon core. After exchanging insights on beast taming with Hong Lian, he learned that for creatures like the 9 netherhound, 6-winged golden silkworm and cold blue dark turtle, it was beneficial for their growth to consume certain demon cores, though these had to be of the same attribute. If the species of the demon beast matched, the effect would be even better. This water-type turtle demon core could help the cold blue dark turtle, so he decided to purchase it. The auction continued, and as the latter half arrived, rare items of the Foundation establishment started to surface, even third-rank heaven and earth treasures. Spiritual Origin Pearl, starting bid 20,000 spirit stones. This pearl is a product of natural creation. Although it is ungraded as an eye of spirit, carrying it or placing it in a dwelling will enrich the spiritual energy, and if combined with a formation, it can even be used to upgrade a spirit vein. Each bid increase must not be less than 1,000 spirit stones. Sir, the Novel Fire, net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. It was at this moment that an auction item emerged, sparking a surge of excitement. Spiritual Origin Pearl. Lu Changxing's face showed surprise and delight. After obtaining a previous Spiritual Origin Pearl, Ling Zixiao made a judgment. He indicated that with just one Spiritual Origin Pearl or through cultivating with a large number of spirit stones, the spirit vein of Baiyun Peak could potentially be elevated to a high-grade second rank. He had been wondering how to get a Spiritual Origin Pearl, and although he came to the auction hoping for some luck, he did not expect to actually find one. 25,000 spirit stones. 30,000 spirit stones. 32,000 spirit stones. The Eye of Spirit, like the Spiritual Origin Pearl, was in demand by both individuals and forces, and it was immediately competed for by many. 40,000 spirit stones. Lu Changxing called out his bid. In the midst of the competition, he ultimately spent 43,000 spirit stones to acquire the Spiritual Origin Pearl. The price was a bit steep, but for Lu Changxing it was within an acceptable range. Chapter 763, A Trip to Qingyun Market, Fairy of the Zither. Even Lu Changxing and Xiao Xie had spent over a month adjusting their essence, qi and spirits to perfection. Just over a month had passed, and it was very likely that Lu Muping was still adjusting his state and had not started Foundation establishment. Therefore Lu Changxing and Xiao Xie could not possibly waste time here waiting for him. Considering he had purchased an item worth 50,000 spirit stones at the auction, Lu Changxing was exceedingly cautious on his journey home. Fortunately, he encountered no dangers and safely returned to Bai Lake Mountain a half-month later. Mother. Lu Wangshu was overjoyed to see her mother Xiao Xie return. In the 2.5 years, Although Xiao Xia had visited her once, she had only stayed with her for 3 days before leaving, which made her miss her mother terribly. Wang Shu. Xiao Xia immediately went forward to hug her daughter tightly. The mother and daughter then reunited, Lu Wangshu's face full of joy, chattering away about her daily delights. Lu Changxing accompanied his wife and daughter in their conversation. But seeing his daughter heading off to fish again, he shook his head and went away, handing over the spiritual origin pearl he won at the auction to Ling Zixiao. S.E.A. The Novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. Another spiritual origin pearl? Ling Zixiao, seeing the pearl, showed surprise and delight in her beautiful eyes. It was well known that spiritual origin pearls were rare treasures. Lu Changxing had just acquired one a few months earlier, and now there was another. With this pearl, the spirit vein of Baiyun Peak could immediately upgrade to upper second rank. Not only would the spiritual energy increase, but it would also aid in her ongoing arrangement of the divine wood great formation. I was lucky this time. There happened to be a spiritual origin pearl at the Qingyun market auction, so I bid for it. Lu Changxing said with a smile. I will go now to integrate this pearl into the spirit vein. With this pearl, it will take at most 3 months for the spirit vein of Baiyun Peak to ascend to upper second rank. Ling Zixiao's eyes shone with joy. She had invested a lot in by Lake Mountain, treating it like her home, and witnessing its incremental progress and improvements also filled her with a sense of achievement. Good. Lu Changxing chuckled merrily. It was rare for him to see Ling Zixiao exhibit such emotions. Changxing, you mentioned something about Wang Shu the other day, what was it? The next day Xiao Xia asked Lu Changxing about the great news concerning their daughter. Hee, do you remember me asking you about the blood talisman spiritual body? Lu Changxing said with a chuckle. Of course I remember. Xiao Xia nodded. No sooner had she spoken than her eyes revealed hints of astonishment, amazement, and joy. She quickly turned to Lu Changxing and asked, Changxing, are you saying that Wang Shu is... That's right, if nothing goes wrong, Wang Shu is indeed a blood talisman spiritual body. Lu Changxing held Xiao Xia's hand tenderly as he spoke. A blood talisman spiritual body? Wang Shu actually has a spiritual body. Hearing the news, Xiao Xia's eyes gleamed with excitement and joy. Although the blood talisman spiritual body didn't offer any assistance with cultivation, it was still considered a superior variety, and one naturally attuned to the talisman path. With such a body, her future prospects on the path of talismans were incredibly promising. As long as she lived, she could at least become a third-rank talisman master. Moreover, with Lu Changxing as her top-level talisman master father, her potential in talismans was boundless. Changxing, why didn't you say earlier that Wang Shu is a blood talisman spiritual body? Then I could have collected all the necessary spiritual blood materials she needs while at the sector marketplace. Xiao Xia knew that the blood talisman spiritual body was a recessive trait, requiring the blood refinement method, consuming spiritual blood to stimulate the spiritual body for activation. Such matters of course I've already prepared for. I called you here so you could awaken Wang Shu's blood talisman spiritual body. Lu Changxing said grinning. He thought to himself that concern leads to chaos, otherwise with Xiao Xia's intelligence, how could she not have guessed that he was already prepared? He took out various types of spiritual blood he had collected over the years from his storage bag. These types of blood were not only gentle in nature, preventing harm to the body, but even soaking in them would benefit the physical body, tendons, and meridians. I didn't expect that you would be so thoroughly prepared, Changxing. When Xiao Xia heard Lu Changxing's introduction to the various types of spiritual blood, and saw how well prepared he was, a happy expression crossed her face. She then teased somewhat reproachfully, it seems you've known about Wang Shu's spiritual body for some time, Changxing. Realizing that she, as a mother, had been kept in the dark about her daughter's spiritual body, the normally aloof and proud fairy Xiu showed a rare bit of petulance, akin to that of a young girl. I also couldn't confirm it myself until recently when I talked with Hong Lian. Lu Changxing immediately claimed he hadn't known before. Mentioning Hong Lian gave Lu Changxing pause. He couldn't help but want to inquire if Hong Lian knew anything about the blood talisman spiritual body. Xiao Xia had mentioned there were 2 ways to awaken it, but she was unclear about the first method, the blood sacrifice ritual, as it wasn't recorded in the Qingyun sect's annals. Thus at that moment he wished to ask Hong Lian about the first method of awakening. Whether the 2 methods of awakening had any differences or not. Thereupon, Lu Changxing went to the summit of Baiyun Peak to inquire whether Hong Lian knew about the blood talisman spiritual body. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. Chapter 764, Lu Wangshu Awakens. Golden Silkworm Gu. _ 1-inch blood talisman spiritual body? Upon hearing Lu Changsheng's words, Hong Lian guessed that he was inquiring for his daughter, Lu Wangshu. In the 2 years she spent at Bai Lake Mountain teaching the Lu family disciples cultivation, she had also made some casual observations. Among Lu Changsheng's children aside from Lu Wangshu, none showed any remarkable talent. If anything was to be said, it was that the likelihood of a spiritual root in his offspring was relatively higher than the average level. However, she distinctly noticed that as the children aged, not only did their spiritual roots become increasingly better but the probability of possessing them grew higher as well. This surprised her, seeing the effect of the Dragon Emperor body. Even with Lu Changxing at the Foundation Establishment cultivation level, the Dragon Emperor body already showed such effects. What if he were to break through to the core formation stage, nascent soul stage, or even the divinity transformation stage? The offspring he would then have would all be incredibly gifted and uniquely talented. Young master, aside from the 2 methods you mentioned for awakening the blood talisman spiritual body, there is a third way to awaken it, to my knowledge, that is through unceasingly advancing on the talisman path and unleashing potential, thereby awakening the spiritual body. As for the first method involving a sacrificial ritual, I have heard that it involves a cultivator performing a blood sacrifice, but the specific details of the blood sacrifice ritual are unclear to me. It's probably similar to the second method that involves the blood refinement method with demon beast blood. Hong Lian spoke in a gentle, pleasant voice, slowly revealing the details of the blood talisman spiritual body. Using cultivators for a blood sacrifice? Lu Changxing raised an eyebrow, thinking it was no wonder that there were no records in the ancient texts of Qingyun sect. As a righteous immortal sect, such things, even if known, would not be disseminated. He continued to inquire, are there any differences among these 3 methods? There is some difference in the degree of awakening of the spiritual body in the early stage, but overall there won't be much discrepancy. Hong Lian opened her mouth and quietly said, Young master, if you want to maximize the spiritual body awakening effects, you can add some true spirit blood during the awakening through the blood refinement method. True spirit blood? Upon hearing this, Lu Changxing immediately thought of his own Mount Sumeru Tree King. He asked, could this true spirit blood be too overbearing? Wangshu is a blood talisman spiritual body, and I am preparing to awaken her spiritual body, but she has yet to commence cultivation. If the spiritual blood is too potent, it might harm her body. Young master, I know of a medicinal bath technique that can dilute true spirit blood and use it to prepare a medicinal bath. This will not only maximize the awakening of Miss Blood Talisman spiritual body but also purify her flesh and solidify her foundation. At that time, Miss Wangshu can immediately commence cultivation, and before reaching the foundation establishment, her progress will be incredibly fast. Dressed in gorgeous palace clothes, with a delicate and perfect complexion, Hong Lian always maintained a faint smile on her face as she spoke. She appeared sacred and noble and exuded an ethereal and hazy beauty. Good. List the spiritual materials needed for this medicinal bath. Lu Changxing immediately replied upon hearing this. Young master, this medicinal bath technique is not immutable. It still needs to be formulated based on the condition of the spiritual blood, and I also have some understanding in the area of medical treatments. Hong Lian said this, indicating her need to first confirm the conditions of several types of spiritual blood. Because aside from the Mount Sumerus true spirit blood, she indicated that the bloodlines of the 9 Netherhound and the cold blue dark turtle were also extraordinary and could be included. Good. Lu Changxing nodded his head, asking for the approximate amount of spiritual blood needed. After confirming that it would not cause harm to his pet beasts, he went to request a portion of spiritual blood from the Mount Sumeru Tree King. The true spirit blood of the Mount Sumeru Tree King, although called blood, is actually an origin source liquid. It resembles liquid amber and shimmers with a golden luster, exuding a rich vitality and a sacred aura. Subsequently he asked Hong Lian to draw some essence blood from the 9 Netherhound and the cold blue dark turtle, which left both pet beasts somewhat wilted and weak, needing several months to recuperate. 10 days later. Inside the alchemy room, the earth vein fire burned vigorously. SAR the novel fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. However, above the fire was not a pill furnace. Instead, it was a bronze cauldron. At this moment, inside the cauldron, the crystal-clear spiritual liquid roiled as Su Rian placed pricey herbs, spirit fruits, monster cores, and even demon beast bones into it. As time passed, the clear spiritual liquid inside the cauldron gradually turned dark and viscous. Su Rian lifted her palm lightly, and gourds from the table beside her rose into the air, their contents of spiritual blood pouring into the cauldron. Gurgle, gurgle, gurgle. With the addition of green, crimson, and azure liquids into the cauldron, the dark water boiled more fiercely, emanating an unpleasant smell. Daddy? Lu Wangshu, originally excited to hear she possessed a legendary spiritual body and that a simple medicinal bath could awaken it, had hurried over in high spirits. But now, looking at the boiling bronze cauldron, her face tensed up, her lips pursed, displaying a hint of fear. "It's okay, don't be afraid," Lu Changxing said as he stroked her head. "Mommy?" Lu Wangshu then turned to look pitifully at her mother, Xiao Xie, no longer wanting to proceed with the medicinal bath. "It's fine, once the medicinal bath is finished, little Wangshu can begin to cultivate," Xiao Xie squatted down, speaking gently. She was well aware that Lu Changxing had prepared this medicinal bath for his daughter to awaken the blood talisman spiritual body, spending tens of thousands of spirit stones and even purchasing a second-rank medicinal cauldron specially for it. The inclusion of true spirit blood, particularly, was beyond valuation. Su Rian poured the last bottle of golden liquid into the medicinal cauldron. Following that, just like in alchemy, she gestured towards the bronze cauldron, emitting a series of spells. The cauldron hummed and vibrated, the liquid inside boiling and foaming, with splashes of iridescent clarity. The originally murky liquid slowly turned to a pale gold, filling the air with a rich fragrance. "Young master, the precious medicine has been brewed, it is ready for use." At this moment, Su Rian looked towards Lu Changxing and spoke. "Daddy, I'm going to be boiled alive," Lu Wangshu said with a frightened face. Search the novel Fire. Net website on Google to access chapters of novels early and in the highest quality. If you find any errors, ads pop up, ads redirect, broken links, non-standard content, etc., please let us know reports so we can fix it as soon as possible. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Chronicles YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.